In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
Evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, on the phone lines, that is phone apps. I welcome you all. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. Tonight we've got James Strait joining us. We will be discussing his new book, his latest book, World War III, which I believe has already begun. So we'll be discussing that, and we'll be discussing current events and the probability of World War III. As I say, if you ask me, it's already begun, but I'm not the official authority on it. I'm just telling you what I see. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. The website's www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means, inform others. Very, 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 very important that we inform others. And thank you for those. Listen, many of you who do email me, you'll know that I do respond. As long as you're not being, one of those sheep peep, that I'll respond. And I want to thank everybody for the very nice and gracious emails that I've been receiving about not only myself, but of Ira as well, and the great job that he's doing here with the LNM Radio Network and his own show. And so we appreciate that very much. And to the gentleman who made a donation and sent me an email, just for the record, I did read it. I just haven't had a chance to give you a honorable response yet. So, folks, sometimes I'll read and I'll get back to it after the show when I actually have time to put my sincerity into it. I don't like to just rush, but I get back to everyone, and I thank you for the emails. The call-in number tonight, 803-317-2264. That's the call-in number every night, should you choose to use it. That's our it's our bat phone, right? So call-ins will be taken later in the show. For the most part, I'm certainly not going to take any now. So for those who are calling now, later we'll take calls with the guests. So I got some news I want to get into, as I do every night. And then I'll tell you a little bit more about our guest tonight, who I think is going to be a pretty good guest. He's a radio show host himself, has a show on a website and all that good stuff, and we'll get into all that. You may or may not be aware that school administrators in Iowa they want to monitor students with body cameras. How do you feel about that? Excuse me. How do you feel about that? Cameras to record student movement as well as parent and student interactions. Really? I mean, you gonna go for that? I really don't like the idea. You know, you when you think about it, if you're a victim, sometimes, you know, the sound of somebody watching and protecting you sounds good. The thing is, they're not watching to protect you. That's not why they want to do this. I'm telling you, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Anyway, school administrators in Iowa soon will be outfitted with body cameras in a new program aimed at monitoring interactions with students and parents. According to the Des Moines Register, the 13 cameras worth roughly $1,100 will be provided to principals and other administrators throughout the Burlington Community School District. If my kid was in that school district, I'd pull him immediately. Burlington School District Superintendent Pat Cohen, who used similar cameras while deployed in Afghanistan. Well, there's a surprise. Oh, this is what they do to keep an eye on the enemy. You're the enemy. They used this method in Afghanistan, and now they're going to use it on your children. Proud parents, you must be. You must be. They said it will provide personal accountability. Oh, is that it? Oh, what do you got to hide? Why don't you want a camera on? Don't you want to be accountable for your actions? What are you trying to get away with, little Dennis? Huh? You don't want to put a camera on? Well, anyways, that's what they want to do. That is linked up. I don't want to talk about it too much more because I'm just going to yell. I don't want to yell. So there it is. It's on LateNightInTheMidlands.com, News and Discovery. There it is. Just another clue that our world is falling apart, that this country is no longer a free one. Maybe you'll start listening and believing me and stop calling me a conspiracy theorist. NASA openly admits alien life exists. Now, this one I seen today. I shared it. I put it on the website. It says, get ready for disclosure. I would agree. Yeah, disclosure, complete disclosure is coming for me. I've already had disclosure, but it is coming, and they are preparing us for it for whatever reason, because they're, slowly but surely, hey, look what we found here. Look what we found there. A lot of things getting slipped up and being put in, not being hidden as much. They're hidden, but they're hidden in a way where you can find them. So a lot more being put out, so I believe it. But they say that most people in the know realize that NASA is just part of the military-industrial complex, but a recent open admission on mainstream news that there are indications of alien life is likely the beginning of a bid to get your undivided attention before full-force disclosure ensues. And it's funny this comes out because at the end of the week here, I've got Steve Bassett coming on, and I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about this as well. And there's no doubt, eventually, because they can't hide it no more. I mean, the technology that they've sold to you all to keep tabs on you and to keep track of everything that has to do with your life, well, that technology also occasionally is beneficial to the slave. And you're able to use it to get pictures and different evidence that you wouldn't have normally been able to get. So, but anyways, NASA coming out, making a statement like that. It isn't going to take long, they say, if we open our eyes. Well, my eyes are open. Let's do this. That's linked up as well. You can go check that out. It's a long one, so it's there for your pleasure, not mine. I've already read it. Not Greece, it says. China, rather, looks like it is heading for its version of the 1929 stock market crash. So while everybody is eyeing up Greece, they're saying that the bigger one, the real worry, is the crisis that's happening in China. They ought to be doing pretty well, you would think. I mean, they own most of America right now, right? And all their goods are being sold in the Walmarts that have been strategically placed throughout the country. So you would think they'd be doing a little better. All right. It says, while all Western eyes remain firmly focused on Greece, a potentially much more significant financial crisis is developing on the other side of the world in some quarters. It's already being called China's 1929, the year of the most infamous stock market crash in history and the start of the economic catastrophe of the Great Depression. Folks, I can't stress this enough. I really can't. It's coming. It is coming. It is coming. I'll tell you what I've started doing. I don't make this stuff up. I'll tell you what I've started to do. Starting to get a stockpile of water. I'm doing this because I see what's coming. And, I'm not kidding, folks. It's coming. Also, next month I will be purchasing a new firearm. I will make sure I have ammo, and I will certainly protect my property with everything I have. So, folks, I suggest you do the same. I would get ready. Don't turn your guns in. That's not what you want to do right now. You want to keep those babies and keep them loaded and be ready, because it's coming. It's coming to American streets, too. I promise you it is. And I wish it wasn't, but it is, because we've had it too easy. We've gotten fat. We've sat back with the 350 channels, and we've had margaritas at the pool and all that good stuff. And well, while we've been doing all that, while we've been distracted by all the toys that Big Brother has passed down to us, and I do mean passed down, because this technology goes way, way further. We're talking probably 20 to 50 years ahead of what you have now. So Big Brother passes it down, and it's coming. It is coming. So, anyways, China looking to have a fall, and I'm telling you, it's going to be a domino effect. Things are going to get crazy. Folks, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just telling you what I see with my two eyes, all right? It's coming. And I'm not telling you just to make a good show. I'm not like some of these others out there who just want to, sound like I know everything and pull in listeners because, I got special sources here or there. It had nothing to do with that. It's about paying attention, putting the pieces together, and being open to everybody, not just closing your mind and, everything you think is right. Don't go by belief. Go by what you can prove. And I can prove right now the world is going to hell in a handbasket. House moves to ban Confederate flag in federal cemeteries now. They want to take the flag out of the cemeteries too. But I bet you could go play your hateful rap or heavy metal music through there, right? Any of that racial music that might exist. And I have to mention both because, otherwise I'll get called. People say, what do you got against rap? What do you got? Look at folks. I don't care about what kind of music you listen to. And I think you have every right to listen to the most hateful music you want. That's your right. But I say this because how are you going to take away a flag that people died for in honor of? But the reason you're given is because it's racist. but yet you're going to allow other things to be sold that are clearly racist. I mean, I just don't get it. Well, I get it, but, I don't get it. Anyways, the House has voted to ban the display of Confederate flags at historic federal cemeteries in the Deep South. See, anything that has to do with rebellion, they are getting rid of. They are getting rid of it. They want out of sight, out of mind. Be a good slave. Don't even think about it. That's what they're telling you. So that's coming. They say the low-profile move came Tuesday evening after a brief debate on a measure funding the National Park Service, which maintains 14 national cemeteries, most of which contain graves of Civil War soldiers. Look, if your loved one is buried there, you should have a right to put what you want on that grave. This is just, welcome, papers, please. Papers, please. Then there's this other stupid thing that came out here. They called it white privilege. It has to do with MTV's. I'm telling you, see how they're trying to stir up the races, folks? This is why I'm sharing this stuff with you. They are trying to stir us up and get us to fight each other. And I hope to God you're not that stupid. MTV is going to start some show here. Leave it to them, the trash network itself. They're going to start some reality show, I guess it is, and it's going to be about privileged white people. Privileged white people. So that's coming to MTV. I'm ashamed to share the initials. Those are my initials. MTV, and Michael Todd Vera, and it's shameful to see my initials in such dirt and nastiness. Because that's what MTV is. It's dirt. All right. As a nation, we have to apologize for slavery. This is another one that came out here. In an interview with a Sirius XM host, a Democratic presidential candidate, Senator Bernie Sanders, came out and said, as a nation, we have to apologize for slavery. All right, I got a couple problems with this. What's this we shat, first off? What's this we stuff? Because I had nothing to do with it. And second off, how are we going to apologize for something that still is in existence today? How do you apologize for something that you're still doing to the people today? You can't apologize for that. And what about the original Native Americans? What kind of apology you'd give them? Oh, here's a couple lots out in the woods. You guys can stay on those? Yeah, apologize. Go trying to get the white people and the black people to fight each other, you dirtbags. Because in the long run, the smart people are going to get together, and you people are going to be in real big trouble. You people who are pulling the strings, you're going to be in some big trouble. Well, you better hope that this doesn't spill over into the streets, because there's going to be nothing to protect you. Nothing at all. The people are going to come for you. I promise you. So keep on pushing for your racial wars. And, eventually, the people are going to wisen up, and they're going to see where the strings lead. They're going to follow those strings right to your mansion. Keep it up. So we should apologize for slavery. So they throw that out there. Just a whole bunch of stuff. And I share it because I worry that people see this stuff and they let it go to their heads. And they start rooting on a race rather than rooting on humanity as a whole. Don't do that. And here's another one I posted. Then we've got to take our break. Headlines that you should see. Every once in a while I'll post this. On Late Night in the Midlands. Just some headlines, and you can go click and go see the stories yourself. Microsoft lays off 7,800, but while they're lobbying for more immigrant workers, that should, pop a few hairs on your butt. USA gun sales surge. That means people are listening. Thank you, people, for listening. U.S. gun sales should continue to surge, folks. Get them while they're hot. Defiant, Georgia county where rebel flag still revered. There's a county, Georgia County, that they're not going to take down their flag. Good for you. You've got some cojones, unlike South Carolina now, and you're not going to fall for it. So I'm glad to see that. D.C. residents say take down the Jefferson Memorial and rename Washington, D.C. Yeah, it's kind of funny that they say rename it, because when you look at a lot of these black op programs that the government has, and they'll say, well, we canceled it. They didn't actually cancel it. They renamed it. So renaming Washington is kind of funny. But see how far it goes? It starts with a flag. Then they want to take everything down. Before you know it, I'm going to have to wear rainbow clothes when I leave the house. It's going to be the freaking law. Are you kidding me? Oh, and Putin, he kind of backs up what I've been saying. He said that Russia and China can overcome any difficulty together, and that they're kicking Soros out of the country. So, I told you, Russia and China, they've been pulling together for over a decade now, and they're making it real clear now. And kicking Soros out the country, that tells me something. They mean business. Paper. We got here. Let's see. Homelessness. Yeah, this came out of a paper someone sent me. Homelessness, empty stores, new normal in New York City, and in L.A. crime surge. So just some headlines I thought you should see, so you know that your world is falling apart while you're watching 300. And I'm not talking to the regular listeners of Late Night in the Midlands, because I think most of you are awake. But let's face it, we have new listeners every night. I know we do. And some are here just because they can't believe what somebody's been telling them they heard here. So they're coming here to listen. And while they came to criticize, some of them are starting to think, say, you know what? Yeah, that does kind of make sense. And there's others who will never get it. The Greek banks, by the way, are closed for a week. That's right, closed for a week. It's coming, folks. I'm Michael Vera. This is Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network. We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back with my guest, James Strait. So, folks, hang in there with us.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen OxySilver and OxySilver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Including OxySilver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol. Electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. OxySilver is covalently bonded to water. Unlike any other silver product using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently body silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more more. OxySilver works 3 ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risk. OxySilver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy OxySilver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
The LNM Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an LNM subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you. The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Imagine, if you will, a man, a media, speaking the truth. Imagine a show that covers UFOs, ET races, the paranormal, and the not-so-normal. A media that speaks the truth no matter who or what it leads to. Imagine, if you will, a media that covers everything. Folks, you just entered the LNM zone. LNM, keeping it real when others don't.
It's the middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of with very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune in to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
Unfortunately, Mother's not going to be able to save you from this boogeyman, because this boogeyman is worldwide. It is the new world order. It's coming, and people, I mean, we could, what was Bush used to say? We fight it over there so we don't have to fight it in our own backyards. Well, maybe we should go over there and fight it so we don't have to fight it in our own backyards. Just saying, just saying. Anyways, let me tell you a little bit about my guest tonight, James Strait. Professional career began as a Special Forces soldier. After the military, he enjoyed a 30-year career as a professional pilot, flying over 100 different categories, types, makes, and models of airplanes. In parallel, Mr. Strait operated a small business providing a variety of services to civilian companies and the military. He's a talk radio host on AM stations in the Philadelphia market. His show, Straight Talks, has begun airing in 2006. He's also the author of Weird Missouri and Deja Vu All Over Again. His latest book is World War III, Not How You Imagined. Oh, and it's not how you imagined, and that's why you're missing it, folks. That's why some of you aren't catching on, because you're looking for that old war, the black and white war movies you watch. It is not like that no more. But let's go ahead and see if we could get our guest on tonight. And folks, don't forget, subscribe, donate, keeps us on the air. Subscriptions get you into our archives. And I'm gonna work something out here soon. I haven't worked it out yet. I gotta talk with Ira. But I want to work it out where maybe we could give away some subscriptions on air at some point and do some kind of giveaway. I don't have it planned out yet, but we'll do something. I've done this with books before, but people don't seem to like to read anymore. All right, so let's do this. Let's get James on with us and get this ball rolling.
Hello.
Hello, is this James?
Yeah, it is. Hi, how are you?
All right, how are you, James? This is Michael Vera with Late Night in the Midlands.
Yeah, hi, Mike. Good to be talking to you.
Oh, it's great to have you on. I thank you for taking time out to be with us. And I had just given a kind of a brief bio. I thought maybe we'd start with a little bit of background and maybe tell us a little bit about your show and the different topics you get in, and we can go from there.
Well, I'm not sure what you said about me, but basically about 50 years ago, I was a very youthful Special Forces soldier, and after my Army career ended, I went into aviation. I flew airplanes for 3 decades, and I had a really interesting and broad-based aviation career. And in parallel, I did some things with small businesses supplying services to the civilian aviation world and also the military. And about 10 years ago, I had some health issues that took me out of the cockpit. I couldn't fly anymore, so I had to figure out what I wanted to do, and I wound up going into talk radio. So I had a radio program that began in 2006, and it was called Straight Talks. It's been on hiatus for about 18 months, and I don't know that I'm going to go back to it. But as a function of interviewing a couple of on-air guests, they hired me to write a book called Weird Missouri, and which turned out to be a very interesting and fun thing to do. I wound up spending 8 weeks in the state of Missouri, which I'm from, but I didn't know it very well because I left at 17 years old to join the military. So I went out there for 8 weeks. I drove about 8,500 miles, took 2,700 pictures, went to about 300 different venues, talked to hundreds of Missourians, and then I sat down for 3 months and wrote Weird Missouri. So that got me my writing career started. And since then, I've written 3 novels, Deja Vu All Over Again, World War III, Not How You Imagined, and my latest, The Price of Contempt, When Islam Pushed Too Hard.
All right. And James, I would love to start out with your latest book, World War III, because I don't know how you feel about it, but when I look around at what's going on around the world, I've been telling people that, in my opinion, World War III has already begun. Am I wrong?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I say, am I wrong?
Well, no, you're not. I mean, you're not wrong, you're not right, necessarily. It just depends on your frame of reference. I mean, a lot of people think the Cold War was World War III, or, you know, they think that the World War III started in 1972 with the attacks on the Olympic community in Munich, or maybe, you know, in 1993 when Al-Qaeda hit the World Trade Center, and certainly in 2001, or I mean, some people think it started in 1948 with the Arab-Israeli wars. But I think I know what you're alluding to in the sense that the fact that there are so many things happening on so many points of the compass, and they all feel like they're impossible to control. It gives, I think, all of us a sense that maybe we have been in some kind of a global conflict. We're certainly in a position where no one agrees with the other person. Or essentially, we're split down the middle as a country.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't remember in my lifetime, and I'm about to be 44 in August, I don't remember a time in my life when the country was as divided as it is right now.
No, nor in my life. I'm 66, so you're a youngster. But
thank you.
Because, you know, right now, during this presidential build-up for the election, you know, you got a candidate, Hillary Clinton, who essentially has about 50 million people who will vote for her no matter what. And then, you know, there's probably 50 million Republicans who will vote for a Republican candidate, whoever that turns out to be, no matter what. And there's probably about 20 million that are in the middle, and those are the people that will ultimately make the decision. But, the fact that we're split down the middle kind of demonstrates that the Founding Fathers were really, really smart, because they created a mechanism, a governmental construct, where if you're divided down the middle, you can spin your wheels for decades, but you can't have one party being so dominant that they're essentially a tyrant by consensus and they take the nation off on a tangent. So it's really frustrating to watch this, just sitting in the same place, not getting anywhere. But it might be better that we do that than having the Democrats run so far off to the left that you can't get back, or on the opposite side, so far off to the right that you can't get back. So I think what we're witnessing is the American democratic process working as it was intended.
I see. See, now I look at it just a little different. I see when I used to be, about the two parties, and now it seems like they're all on the same team, kind of, behind closed doors anyways. It's like professional wrestling kind of stuff, where in the spotlight it's headlocks, and behind closed doors it's like, well, if you do this for me, I'll do that for you, and it's like it never gets anywhere.
No, I agree. It's always been that way, and nepotism and favoritism was big even back in the days of the Founding Fathers. I mean, Benjamin Franklin got printing deals as a function of his access to the government. So, I mean, the fact that you know people and you have your foot in the door and you can have those secret conversations, I think that has always paid off for everybody in government and business, no matter what era you look at. But it does seem, because I think, the communications are what they are now. All of us know every little thing that happens. And it's a lot to process, and it's a lot to put into and keep in perspective. And so it does at times seem like it's spinning out of control, and I think probably for the average person it's almost impossible for them to not seem that way. But a lot of people think we're on the precipice, and I think we're still on pretty solid ground. It's a very challenging ground. But I look at, I'll speak specifically for America. Okay. I look at America as a house built on a strong foundation, and the foundation are those founding documents, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And a house, if you have a really strong foundation, will stand a long time, but it may change in appearance as different generations and families live in it. They'll change the colors of the rooms and the exterior, and they'll add an addition or whatever, and it'll look different, it'll feel different, it'll smell different, but as long as that foundation is there, the house will be the same. And I think that's what we're seeing over the generations. And as technology makes things change so fast, it's harder to keep things in perspective. But I think we're just watching the American house change colors, change rooms, different people come in and out, but underneath, as long as we have the foundation, the country will survive.
See, and I love how you just put that. I would agree with you. And what I do worry about, however, is that, our fathers would pass down, these tools to maybe keep the foundation strong. And what you're seeing today in today's America is a youth run wild. I mean, they're running into malls and beating up people and just taking stuff, and they're just, the mainstream media is certainly not helping any of that with these, but you're getting a lot of that. You're getting, I know in Ohio over the 4th of July weekend, there was a group of 40 black kids who attacked a white person on the street and practically beat him to death. And the mainstream media never touched on it, but had it been the other way around, I think it would have been a big story. And so they're kind of guiding these youth, and it's like the parents aren't, telling these kids how it used to be. It's like it's almost like they think, well, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, well, I think probably most of those kids have either one parent or maybe no parents.
Yeah,
and the fact that the family unit has it has devolved over the past 30 or 40 years to the point where, and specifically, certainly more frequently in the poverty-stricken sectors of the inner cities. Right. If you're born into that kind of environment and you grow up exposed to all the stuff that happens on the streets, and you don't have a focused twin parent when you come home at night or after school. I mean, if you come home to an empty house and mom's out working 3 or 4 jobs, or mom's laying on the couch high or something, and dad, you don't even know who your dad is, what can we expect from those kids?
And that's true, and a lot of them are being raised on the street, and that's kind of my point. And, you know, our foundation, I think, for this country has always been strong, but as the generations go on, you know, I'm beginning to be a little more concerned when I see the youth. It's like, you know, what really made this country strong? I'm starting to see that kind of like where people don't care anymore, and that's sad to me, because, you know, what that's going to do is, you know, people talk about, oh, open the borders, we should all just, you know, be one, and in a perfect world, that'd be great, but we're not in a perfect world, and that's kind of where we're headed, though.
Yeah, well, you know, we do have a new voice on the political landscape there. I mean, Donald Trump, he's a guy who's going to really animate the conversation, and he's going to take candidates to places they don't want to go. He's going to make them very uncomfortable because the guy is fearless. He'll talk about anything. He'll talk from his heart. He won't hold back, and that is going to cause a lot of people a lot of problems. He could turn out to be the ultimate spoiler for the Republicans.
Yeah, well, you know, I think it'll be very interesting. I do. You know, Ron Paul, he was another one who was running, you know, several times he ran, and he brought a lot of good issues up. But, you know, it seems like the people who are going to do the right thing never get to that stage, and when they do, things like what happened to Kennedy happen.
Yeah, well, you know, Trump is he's a straight-talking guy. I mean, and Christie is a straight-talking guy, but, you know, Christie is more of a political animal. Trump is just a wild man. And but, you know, he's a very accomplished wild man. So he can stand on any political stage and talk about accomplishments and be the source behind those accomplishments, where his opponents can only talk about being bureaucrats. And what they've accomplished is negligible to, you know, very difficult to prove. And so I think I'm really looking forward to when the debates get to the point where there's, you know, 8 or 10 or 15 or however many Republicans are going to be up there, you know, talking about topics, because I think Trump is going to take them off in a direction they don't want to go. He's going to be asked a question, and like with any politician, they turn it in the direction they want to go, and he's going to take them all to, you know, some landscape they're unfamiliar with. They're going to be forced to think on their feet, and they're all going to look horrible.
Well, I hope you're right. I really do. I hope that you're right about that, and I hope somebody does. You know, you look at Obama. I mean, here's a guy who was a community organizer, and look what he's done. He's just about, you know, people say, oh, he's got strings, and I'm thinking, well, this guy loves his strings, though, because America has never been in as much turmoil as I see now as it has under him. And you can only blame Bush for so long. I didn't like Bush either. But you know, now, okay, Obama, you've been in there for a while, and things have done nothing but get worse. That tells me something.
Yeah, he's I'm not a fan of Barack Obama, but he has gotten a lot of cooperation out of Congress to pass a lot of legislation. Stuff I don't agree with, but, you know, he's been successful in that way. And where a guy like Trump says he's going to do all these things, he'll just make a blanket statement. He'll claim, I'm going to defeat such and such, or I'm going to do this, and they're going to pay for it. Well, you can say it, but you need to explain it so that it's believable. And are you going to get, if you're elected, are you going to get Congress to work with you after you've pissed every one of them off during the elective process?
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, I don't know. I guess I don't have as much faith in our system as it is right now. I think that the only way we could clean it up, I think, is to get everybody out and start over. And that, I mean, because there's just been so much corruption. So many of those people are bought and paid for that I don't know. I think there's always going to be that corruption unless examples are set.
You know, that's absolutely true, Michael. And the process is corrupt, and it is corrupt because of money. But let me take you back to Trump again. Here's a guy who doesn't need anybody's money. He can pay for his own elective process, even if it's $1 billion. He can pay it out of his pocket. He doesn't have to answer the telephone when it rings on his desk from Alcoa because they want to talk to him because they gave him $100,000.
That's true, because he almost bought the Bills. I think he offered $900 million for him.
Right.
So the man's got some money.
Yes, I mean, he doesn't need money, so that makes him, again, a dangerous actor. And you go back to your thought of a couple minutes ago where you mentioned Kennedy. He became a problem. I would fear for Trump if he becomes a very electable guy, and you just never know what kind of forces are working behind the scenes. Like you talk about that. If Trump is somebody they can't control, then maybe they don't want him.
And that's just it. It's the ones that they can't control. I remember Jesse Ventura, when I had spoke with him, he told me that when he got in as governor in Minnesota, he said the first thing when he walked up to his office, the first thing they did was come in and tell him, look, we don't know how the hell you got through the ropes, but this is how things work here. And basically gave him the speech that watch what you do here. So.
Yeah. If you take, I always try to take things back to, to basics. And if you look at the sequence of events in electing any official to, an elected office, it starts with, somebody raising their hand saying, elect me, I can lead you from darkness into light. I'm the man, I'm the woman. And they start, talking, and people start paying attention, and then there's a contest, and before you know it, election day comes. And that's where it really all falls apart now, because they've got everybody voting into cyberspace. There's very few places that use paper ballots anymore. And cyberspace, as we all know, is a place where only a handful of people understand the esoteric nature of how you manipulate, ones and zeros to interact in there. So there's only a handful of people on the planet who can develop the software that collects and archives and tallies votes. And how can I, as just your average human being, understand the chain of custody inside a virtual mosaic of computers all gang together to control this process that is sometimes shipped to Europe to be tallied? And if you vote into a computer, man, that's the ultimate form of trusting the system. And in a vote, you want transparency. Transparency replaces trust. And unless I'm writing on a piece of paper where I can, go back and pick it up and say, no, I didn't vote for that guy. Here's where it says I voted for this guy. I don't trust the system. So for me, the elective process has been compromised. Not only are the officials who are running for office compromised because they have been bought and paid for, the very election process has been compromised. And
you're so right. Last time I went to vote, I walked in and he hands me this cartridge, and I was supposed to put it in, put it in, make my vote, and then take this cartridge back out. And I asked the guy, I said, how do I know you don't already have this pre-programmed where it's going to, we don't. I said, well, I don't like this. Can I do paper? But, oh, no, you have to do it that way. And I'm thinking, it won't matter whose name I push here. They'll do what they want.
Yeah, I mean, they want you to vote by, mail, by internet, by phone, by any way other than a piece of paper where, there's an evidence trail. You can stack a bunch of votes up, and maybe it takes a lot longer to count them. So what? I mean, I wouldn't care if after the presidential election it took a month to tally all the votes, because after all, they've made us suffer through this elective, contest for 18 months prior to the election. So why can't they wait a month to learn who, won? Wow. And, they've got between November and January before they're sworn in anyway. What's the big deal? So I wouldn't care if it took a month to count all the paper votes multiple times if needed to find out who won. Just don't ask me to vote into a computer, because to me it's so bold-faced and so blatant that I vote no matter what, and I'm going to continue to do that. But for me to walk into a polling site, cast my vote into a computer, then walk out and actually think I voted for that person, I can't do that. I mean, I go through the motions because it's what I need to do as a responsible civic person, but I don't fool myself to think that I may have voted for, who I voted for.
Yeah, exactly. I guess, I look at it both ways, and, I've always told people in the past that, even if you don't believe the vote counts, the moment you give it up, it's like anything else. You give it up, you lose it. And we don't want them to think that it don't matter to us. So, in a sense, I'm on both sides of that coin, where I'm at a point now where why do I even waste my time voting? Because I've never had anybody I wanted ever win an election. It's never happened. It's like part of being a Bills fan. It's not been easy. You losing becomes a custom, but, but at the same time, I feel like if you don't use it, you lose it. And so maybe we need to make some noise and say, look, we want a better way. It comes down to the people. If enough people speak up and raise up and say, no, we don't accept this, they're going to have to listen to us.
Yeah, that's a problem, too. Getting enough people to stop watching the Kardashians and all the nonsense that's going on television and the movies, and to get people. I would like to see, instead of the Super Bowl, I'd like to have some super civic event where people actually got out and did something that bettered their community on the same day that the Super Bowl would be held. Because I don't really care who can throw a ball through a hoop better than another person, or who can hit a ball with a stick.
Well, yeah, there's definitely things that are way more important than that. I agree, and I think that for these guys getting paid the money that they get, it's a crying shame, to be honest with you. But
yeah. It's to think that we idolize people who literally take a stick and knock a ball into a hole is beyond me. I think guys that can open up your skull and move stuff around and, hook little things up and, vent things and add things and then sew you back up, and you're still a thinking, breathing, walking around human being. I think they're pretty cool. But do I think a guy who can swing a stick and hit a ball 300 feet is a big deal? Not really.
I'm with you on that. I'm guilty. I do watch football on Sundays, but it's not the first thing in my life. I don't make it. It's not a priority.
That's it. You're a thoughtful guy. So, it's one thing to sit around and watch something that you enjoy on occasion when the most of 99% of your time is invested in doing things for your family and for your community and to better your own life. But, we all need a nice, simple-minded diversion, and football is that. So, I've watched many football games myself, but I can look back and say, well, you kind of earned this simple entertainment, so, don't feel guilty about it. Just enjoy it, and after it's over, go back to doing what you do. And so that's essentially what I've been doing for the last 10 years is I will do something like that, and then I get up from the TV, grab a sandwich, go in my office, and I start writing. And for me, writing books is a way for me to not only hopefully spin an entertaining story, but also communicate ideas that if people read the book, maybe they'll digest those ideas and say, maybe I'm going to incorporate that kind of thinking into my life. Or maybe I'll start thinking about that specific kind of event in that way. So, books can be kind of like a radio show. If you spin something the right way, not spin it, that's the wrong word. If you talk about a topic in a way that makes sense to somebody and they say, wait a minute, I hadn't thought about it that way, then you've done a service for them and for yourself.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, and I've worked with the type. I had a guy I worked with about 6 years back. I worked with a guy, and I was just starting the show at the time. Well, it was almost 8 years ago now. I was just starting the show, and so some of the topics I would be working on at my desk while I was working, and he'd come over, oh, you don't really believe that, do you? And all the guy ever watched, if you went to his house, all he ever had on is ESPN. But he's going to tell me what's going on in the world. And I'm thinking, this is the type of news you're going to find on ESPN, buddy. So let's not argue and let's just be friends.
That's how people have been manipulated since time immemorial. People like to do what feels good and what's easy. And sitting down watching television, watching ESPN or the Housewives, or whatever crap you watch, it feels good and it's easy, and that's the reason people are addicted to it.
Oh, the TV has been such a mind blocker. I mean, they have used it for mind control so badly. I mean, I go to visit people, and they've got these satellite dishes, and they've got 300, 400, 500 channels, and I'm thinking, what are you going to do with all these channels? I mean, unbelievable. What does somebody need with all that? And I'm thinking, so I know when I walk into a home, I know, what people, who's aware and who's not. And when they've got 500 channels, chances are they haven't even gotten around to some of the topics you're talking about,
Man, you're making me feel bad because I live out in the middle of nowhere, and the only way we can get TV or internet is with a dish. So,
well, hey, now that's different,
And that dish does bring in about 600 channels.
Isn't that something?
I've probably watched maybe 15.
But there's people who will sit there, and I mean, they'll have while they're watching, they got the DVR saving everything else on the other 100 channels, and it's crazy. It's just, I guess my point is that the technologies have been put out there to keep the people distracted. So it's like an amazing plan that they have, and then they want to keep track of everybody. So hey, let's put up things like Facebook, and we'll put out cell phones. The people will buy it. We won't even have to pay to keep tabs on these people. We'll just put out this technology, and they'll purchase it. And it's just people have been so distracted with the technology, and it's just, I wonder how it's going to be the day, and it will happen, the day that, everything goes out.
Well, permanent change is always just one generation away. And, if somehow they were to magically make all the guns in America go away, one generation growing up under a circumstance of never having seen a gun would make it just rock solid guarantee that, no guns would ever again, be available to the American, population. And the same thing you're talking about with technology, as it's changing so rapidly and it's so comprehensive and it's going so small that, drones are becoming so small that the limitation is atmospheric, that the turbulence in the air will prevent the drone from being able to follow somebody. So, it's frightening on many levels, and the problem is that mankind has never invented a technology that they haven't used, and they use it for good and they use it for bad. And I personally believe being traced and tracked and kept, in somebody's database is a bad thing. But this last generation, they can't wait to post the most ironic, stupid behavior on Facebook or YouTube. Things that I would do 50 years ago and pray that no one ever learned of it. Hey, kids today can't wait to post it.
You're so right. And I am so thankful that growing up, this technology did not exist, or I probably couldn't sit in this chair today.
Yeah, and think about, and presidential candidates that are probably in their 40s now. They grew up in an era where the technology was starting to influence how people made decisions, and look how many national, especially guys, elected officials have been compromised through, photographs and videos that they took, 15 years ago or whatever, and that's just going to continue as time goes on. In fact, it's probably going to happen more frequently as time goes on because guys are just that way. Yeah,
I would agree. I would absolutely agree. Now, tell me a little bit about your book, the World War III, Not How You Imagined. Tell me a little bit about that, and because I think that when it does happen, and if it is happening, like I think it is, I think people are expecting like what you've seen in the black and white movies, the planes and the bombs dropping, and it's a different kind of World War III. It would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we've got a lot of hardware, and like I said just a couple of minutes ago, if mankind invents something, they're going to use it. And since we have all this hardware, we're going to find excuses to use it. And I don't envision a time, certainly in my lifetime, which I hope I live another 25 years or so, but I don't envision in the next 50 years where the big armies of the world aren't going to find justifications to use their hardware. But I think most people are starting to consider that the next really dramatic, and it's probably going on, as you say, and it has been going on for quite some time, is in cyberspace. And 2 or 3 years ago, I started having conversations with people where I started openly saying, man, I'll tell you, I love the Internet. It is so convenient. It allows me to write a book in 3 months that would otherwise probably take me a year if I had to go back and forth to a library or had to do things differently. The Internet is so convenient. It's such a powerful tool, but it's also such a scary place. And I have been talking about, we should shut the damn thing down while we still can. And most people look at you and think, man, why would you shut the Internet down? It's so cool. And I agree, it is cool. It's amazing. But it's also, giving everybody access to, it's giving one guy access to millions of people, all at one time.
Well, it is. And I look at cyberspace as a whole nother dimension. I mean, there's things going on in cyberspace that if you did on the street, you'd be in prison for. But I think it's a really good thing. But at the same time, like anything else, it has its ups and downs. And I think if people are smart, and I think I don't want to offend anyone, but I may. But I think our generation, we're smart enough to know not to put all our personal stuff everywhere online. While the kids today, they don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, I would like to think that I'm reasonably smart at it, but I don't think that I am. And it doesn't even matter that I won't put it there because companies that I interact with have put it there. And the hackers aren't going to come after me because I'm small beans. I got nothing on my computer. But the companies that I have interacted with have millions of me on their computers in their databases. So they're going to go after those databases. And if they compromise those databases, the ripple effect throughout the individual lives that are all connected to that company or that organization can be dramatic. And in my book, World War III, and I've actually, it's been a theme in all three of my novels, some element of the story involves an organization called the National Center for Cybersecurity, and these folks are the action arm of the cyber world in that they backtrack where the problem came from, and then they send out trigger pullers to fix it. And so I won't be surprised at some point in the future where hacking will become a capital crime.
And, and there should be big punishments for that type of stuff. I'm not against that. It's like anything. I think, your right to bear arms comes with responsibility. Your right to free speech comes with a responsibility. Your right to, or your privilege to use the Internet should also come with a responsibility for your actions. And
sure.
So,
and if you hack the national airspace and you somehow mess up the navigation of a commercial airplane, and you cause it to go off course for so long that it runs out of fuel because the crew was also stupid, and 450 people die. Should the people that hacked the national airspace, should they be put to death? In my world, I would.
I think so. I think that if you've hacked and you've caused something like that to happen, yeah, absolutely. I think that, yeah, absolutely. I know for a fact, look, I got attacked not long ago. I had my website taken down. I had all my archive shows were being ripped down. One of my colleagues, all his stuff was being taken down and attacked. And I'll tell you, if I could have got my hands on these guys, I would have had no problem choking them to death. So, yeah, I believe there should be penalties for people like that.
Yeah, well, that's why I created the National Center for Cybersecurity. They just don't tolerate that crap. They send out some nasty folks who are capable of making bad people go bye-bye, and that's what they do.
Well, that's good. I'd like to join. Yeah, but... and I used to have a gentleman who used to, well, he wasn't a gentleman, but I used to have a guy who used to come on about cybersecurity, and he pretty much, that's what he wanted to do. It seemed like he wanted to just shut it all down and have your only source of information be your TV news. And I just, a world like that scares the hell out of me. So I think, responsibility should be taken for people's actions. It's just like we have license plates, so you know whose car is what. I think, if you're going to get on, even these radio shows, some of them, they purposely mislead people, and they shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt that the cyberspace, the internet, is the most powerful tool ever devised. It's a social nuclear weapon, and it is something that I interact with. God, I mean, I don't know how many hours I've spent, in cyberspace over the past 15 years, and for the largest part, it's been a very productive and positive thing. But on the other hand, there's just, if it doesn't exist, they can't hurt you with it. I look at a lot of the things happening in the military and how so many systems are being compromised, or they have to shut things down for a while, or and the way we wage war now, it's not nearly as consequential as if we were all in. But if you're all in and they find a way to negate your entire Air Force just by manipulating a few zeros and ones in cyberspace, that tells me you're dumb as a rock, because I would not have any system that left me that vulnerable.
And that's why I keep telling people, enjoy your technology, enjoy your phones and your computers and all that, but be prepared for the day that stuff gets shut down, because it can happen. An EMP, it could be either from the sun, it could be North Korea, it could be our own government, who knows, but it can happen. And, people need to be prepared, so, so they're not going crazy on the street. And you see people parachuting down, aim. That's all I got to say. Aim.
Well, hey, man, for 25 years, I was a very active skydiver. I have 3,000 jumps. So just because I see somebody jumping out of an airplane and parachuting down doesn't mean I'm going to shoot them.
Well, right. But I mean, if you've got planes in the sky that aren't ours, and you see, I'm going back to that, what's that movie, Red Dawn, was it? Where all the North Koreans start parachuting down and everyone's looking out of the window and just watching.
Yeah. That's a pretty far-fetched scenario, but that's the nice thing about fiction. You can make anything you want, read as reality, because, you're the boss. You're the guy writing the story, and you can make it anyway. But can that actually translate into a real-world happening? I don't really see something like that happening, but maybe on a smaller scale, a much smaller scale, a micro scale, something like that might happen. But that number of airplanes getting over the mainland of America with the intent of doing harm, I don't see that happening. But it's very easy. While you and I are sitting here conversing, having a good time, and people listening to us, I hope, having a good time, who knows what's going on in the computers we're working through. There's so many parallel pathways in those things. They can let you have, the front of it. They can let you, the screen you look like everything's normal. You're doing what you want to do, but behind it, they're doing stuff that's ruthless and destructive. So, for me, if I were, the most powerful Oz, I don't know that I'd shut it down, but I might, compartmentalize it so that it just can't be systemically hacked all over the world. Maybe have regions of internet or something where it's just you have to get permission to go from one region to the next. You just can't sit in Russia and access something on the other side of the world. You have to get permission to go through gates or something. I don't know, but it is such a powerful tool that I would hate to see it go, because it just makes life so convenient to just do anything. But it's also, it's also made us weak. It's our underbelly if somebody wants it to be.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Well, James, hang on with us for a moment. We've got to take a break, and then you and I will come back and talk a little more. And, folks, if you want to call in, the call-in number is 803-317-2264. You can also call in using Skype. Our Skype ID is Late Night in the Midlands, and there's no spaces. So, James, we're going to put you on hold here for a moment. It's going to get quiet for you, and then we'll bring you back after the break. Everybody else, this is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and JH told me there was some kind of rhythmic sound that people were hearing. I don't know what you're hearing. It's not me. I've been in this long enough to know not to play the drums while I'm on the air. So, folks, we'll be back in just a few minutes. You want the truth? Late Night in the Midlands knows you deserve it. That's why we make it easy for you to listen at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means inform others. Folks, we're not your average radio show. We cover everything. Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network. LNM is always looking for sponsors, so if you are interested in sponsorship or advertisement on air or on our website, contact us at mv@latenightinthe.midlands.com. If you're interested in rebroadcasting or picking up the live feed for Late Night in the Midlands, then contact us at mv@latenightinthe.midlands.com and help us help you.
Hi, I'm Joshua Vera, and I wanted to inform you that Late Night in the Midlands is offering limited on-air advertisement. With 30 and 60-second spots available, or inquire about placing your banner ad on the LNM website. Or go ahead and package a deal, but either way, get the attention you deserve and join the LNM family. Contact us at mv@latenightinthe.midlands.com. Again, that email is mv@latenightinthe.midlands.com.
Need your L&M fix? You can find us on social medias everywhere, like our Facebook fan page, Late Night in the Midlands, or our Facebook group, the LNM Radio Network. Our other Facebook groups, The Last Frequency. You can also find LNM on Twitter at LNM Radio, and all of this and more can be found on our website at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Again, that's www.latenightinthe.midlands.com, bringing the truth back to talk radio. The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com.
This is some dangerous, dangerous stuff. And you don't need some politician in a black-blue suit to tell you that aliens are real, or to tell you that UFOs are real, or to tell you that there used to be an atmosphere on the moon or Mars, because we have evidence of it, and we don't need them to tell us. And besides that, why would you want them to tell you? Because they've been lying to you your entire life.
At Late Night in the Midlands, host Michael Vera takes a much different approach than most hosts do in an attempt to figure out what is really going on in the world we perceive to live. The show is not always about being correct, selling products, or putting his name in lights. Michael is concerned with the truth and connecting the dots no matter who and where they lead. I'm Ryan Gable, host of The Secret Teachings, and I approach my show in the very same way. Sometimes you think that in order to be the best, you must appear the best, but the truth has no need for appearance and masking. It just is. Information information is not negative. It is how you view it that determines the dimensional characteristics of either dual aspect of negativity or positivity. In less words, it's intention. Even if you disagree with what Michael discusses, we should be able to have an open discussion without de facto fallacies of ad hominem name-calling and ridicule, not predicated on fact or reason, but on ignorance, pettiness, self-absorption, narcissism, ego, and fear. Try as you might, but no amount of disinformation, propaganda, ridicule, name-calling, or trolling on the internet will change the truth. The truth is the truth, regardless if the masses accept it as is, or if it is accepted by only one person out of billions. It is no measure of health to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. I'm Ryan Gable, host of The Secret Teachings, and you are listening to Late Night in the Midlands with host Michael Vera.
Middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of with very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune in to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
Midlands, and some of you may not like that song, but when it all comes to push and shove and that's all you got left, you'll appreciate it. Anyways, let's get back to it here. The website, www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, keep us on the air. And I do thank everybody for the great emails that I have been receiving, about LNM. Now, I think I'm going to set it up at least once a week where we'll go through some emails and read them. I've always looked at it as kind of, I don't want to be like rubbing it in like, oh, look, we're great or anything. But, I think that we should give recognition to those who take the time out to write to us. And, hey, if there's some bad ones, maybe we'll go through those too sometimes. I don't know. But we get a lot of trolls too. So you got to watch out for the trolls. But matter of fact, I just booted one out of the chat room. But yeah, we've been getting a lot of good reviews here at the LNM Radio Network. We've got a kick-ass lineup here on this network. We really do. We've got some great shows. We've got some great people behind the scenes like Ira and Jolene, and they do such a fantastic job. And, all of us working together, and that's why it is what it is. So thankful for that. And let's see here. Where are we? Okay, there we go. Let me get our guest back on because I almost lost him here. All right, so again, my guest is James Strait, and his latest book is World War III, Not How You Imagined. He's going to be with us for a little longer. We'll take calls if you have them, and then I'm going to bring Ira on, and we're going to continue some of this conversation as well. So, James, we are back, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you the floor to get out, talk about maybe some of your other books, your website, where people could get their hands on this stuff, and pretty much take us in whatever direction you would like.
Well, thanks. That's pretty generous of you. I can do that. Yeah. My website is www.straighttalks.com, STRAITTALKS.com. And that website hasn't had a lot of action on it for months now, but you can find all of my books there, beginning with Weird Missouri, which was released in 2008. Then Deja Vu All Over Again, which came out, I think, 3 years later. World War III, Not How You Imagine, came out about 18 months ago, and then just a month ago I released my latest novel called The Price of Contempt, When Islam Pushed Too Hard. And all those books are for sale on Amazon and anywhere online, any retailer online. So you can go there. Or if you wanted to get one directly from me, I'd be happy to send you a signed copy, or we can arrange one of those electronic books also. Just shoot me an email at jim@straighttalks.com, STRAITTALKS.com. And, Michael, I know that you talk a lot about UFOs and that type of thing. When I researched Weird Missouri, I talked to multiple people in the state of Missouri who'd had some very interesting and powerful encounters that would be of interest to you.
I would love to hear those, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I was meaning to ask you, you've been in the air a lot. Have you ever seen anything yourself?
Well, I've seen thousands of things that I couldn't identify, so I guess in that sense they were unidentified flying objects, but I never saw anything that I would think wasn't a terrestrial craft, had taken off from Earth, was flying around in the atmosphere, and was going to land somewhere else back on Earth. So I've never had the sense that I've seen something that was extraterrestrial, no.
Oh, okay. Well, I respect your honesty. Now, there are people out there that would make stuff up. So I'm glad.
Well, that's like the Internet, man. The reason you can't trust stuff on the Internet is because it's on the Internet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but then there's that group, that camp that says, well, it's got to be true. It was on the Internet. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about some of these UFO encounters that people had.
Well, probably one of the more interesting ones that I can talk about is a fellow that I ran into. I drove all over the state of Missouri, and about 8,500 miles total. And I wound up backtracking and crossing my path multiple times, and I actually kept an accurate map of the driving that I did, and it looks like this cross-hatching of the entire state done by a complete lunatic drunk. But it was just because I would learn about something after I'd already been in one area, and I had to go back to that area. So as I was going back to one area in very southern part of Missouri, about 25 miles east of West Plains, which is about probably 20 miles north of the Arkansas border, I was driving down a road. It was a beautiful day, and I passed this guy's farmhouse, and out in his front yard, really nicely manicured front yard, he had this huge collection of steel-wheeled farm machines, and all steam-powered, and they were all on display. And I was always looking for interesting roadside oddities, because roadside oddities is one of the chapters in Weird Missouri. So I turned around, and I went down his driveway, and I guess he saw me coming, and he comes out of his house and walks up to the car, and I introduced myself and explained why I'm in Missouri and why I came down his driveway, and he immediately gets real friendly, and he says, well, come on out, let me show you my collection. So we're walking through his really large collection of these steel-wheeled farming machines, and he has a small barn in the middle of this property, and it's a new barn, and it was probably about the size of a large four-car garage. And it's a bed and breakfast that he and his wife thought would be a good idea to build in the middle of this collection of steel-wheeled farm machines. So he says, well, come on in and let me show you this bed and breakfast. So we go in, and for like 15 or 20 minutes, he's showing me all this. And I'm starting to think, well, this is nice, but I need to keep moving because I got a book to write. And he can sense that I'm probably about ready to leave. And he says, I don't know what it is about you, but he says, I don't mention these things to just anyone, but I trust you, and I want to tell you something. I hope you don't, think badly of me. But he said, for the last 20 years, I've been seeing UFOs over my property. And I said, man, not only am I not offended, you are the perfect person. I've been looking for you. Where have you been all for the last 3 or 4 weeks? And so he starts telling me about how he's been seeing on a very regular basis lights in the night sky that come out of the northern part of Arkansas. And they're so frequent and so predictable that they actually have barbecues where he'll invite over a dozen people, and he has a cattle ranch, and they'll butcher a cow. They'll have these great big juicy steaks while they're waiting for these lights to appear in the sky. And he says it's not like clockwork, but it's very common, very predictable, and it's always the same, that one bright light will start to appear. He thinks at like about 12,000 feet in the air, but at night, and I mean, it would be difficult for me to look at something at altitude at night and really come up with an accurate estimate of how high it is. So it might be 12,000 feet, it might be 30,000 feet, but it's high in the air. And he says this one light will come and hover, and all of a sudden about 12 or 15 different bright lights will drop out of it, and those smaller lights all shoot off to different points on the compass and just disappear over the horizon. And then the big light goes out, and he said it's also like clockwork that 5 minutes after that happens, you can hear jet interceptors coming into the area. So, he tells this story, and he says, how long are you going to be here? He said, if you can stay here till Saturday, he said, I can almost guarantee you'll see this. And I said, well, I would love to see that sometime, but I'm not going to be able to do that. And then he says, I've had a crop circle. So he starts telling you this crop circle. Now, there's a picture of the crop circle in Weird, Missouri, with him standing next to it. And basically, he said it was a situation where he was in his farmhouse looking out over the back part of his property, and he's got a field behind his house. It's probably about 1,000 feet to a tree line. And he said he saw this glowing light out behind a tree line. And he said all the times that he's had these things happen, he's never had a sense that he was in danger. And so he was always very calm about everything that was going on. He said he went out of his house, he started to walk towards that light. He said he got about halfway there, the light went out, and that was it. There was no more indication that anything was there. He didn't go out there that night. He went out there the next morning. And when he got out there, he found a crop circle that was just an exact circle that was only about 10 feet in diameter. And he'd had that backfield was filled with Timothy hay, and it had smashed that hay down, flat as a pancake. So he took a picture of that. And then he said, well, I've got hundreds of pictures. And I said, now you're talking. Now I want to see this stuff. So we go into his house, and I sit in his living room while he goes into his bedroom, and he comes dragging out these two big plastic tubs that are just filled with photographs and albums of photographs. And I started leafing through them, and they were all essentially pictures of lights in the sky, lots of different shapes of light. Some were just a straight streak, some were just a glowing ball, others were kind of like a boomerang shape, and sometimes there'd be 2 or 3 boomerangs stacked up in a row. And so I took pictures of those, and some of those are in Weird, Missouri. And I leafed through probably, a few hundred pictures, but the trend was that was all it was going to be. But he had been taking those pictures for 20 years or more, so they were very important to him, and I tried to give them the importance that he felt that they had, and he says, let me show you something downstairs. And then I started to get a little uneasy. So he takes me to the basement and turns on the light, and it's a straight shot down to the basement, and I let him get all the way to the bottom, and I kind of look down and in there, and I start to see normal-looking stuff. So I go all the way down in there, and he has this humongous collection of everything that's collectible from probably, the turn of the 20th century on. And he's just a guy that collects everything. And while we're down there, we hear footsteps upstairs, and he says, that's my wife. She was out at the shopping or something. And she comes down and calls his name, and he says, well, we're down here. And she comes down, and she's surprised to see me there. She says, he introduces me, and she says, well, you can count yourself about, he's only brought 2 or 3 other people down here as long as we've been married and as long as we've lived here. He said, you're it's really strange that you're down here. And I said, well, I'm very thrilled to be down here. And he had everything imaginable, and but she validates everything he says. And what was so meaningful about the interaction I had with him is that he is a completely normal guy. I mean, he's the president of the town bank. He's a very, active civic guy. He's got, an agricultural ranch and a 400-acre cattle ranch. And he's just a guy who has seen these things in the sky for the last 20 years. He can't explain them. He said, I don't believe in space aliens, but I'm seeing something in the sky that I can't explain, and I've been taking pictures of it for 20 years. Yes. So it was a very interesting encounter, and when you meet people that are that sincere and they're not out there promoting themselves, they don't want to be known as the UFO guy or anything. He's just a guy who has these stories that he's documented. I take that seriously.
I'm with you. So do I. And, I've had my own sightings. And so I know that this phenomena is real. And I've always said I don't know who's driving these things. But over the years, I have interviewed so many, not only people who have put books out there, but many people who have no websites, no books, don't even want their last names given out, who would come on and they would tell stories and they would send me pictures and show me, and a lot of these people would be directed my way through sources that I trust. So, I have great reason to believe that, I believe that probably 95% of the reported sightings out there are sincere. Now, I also think that probably just 5% of them are probably actual extraterrestrial craft. But I think that people are really they're telling real stories of what they're seeing up there. And some could be explained away, but it's those ones that can't. Those are the ones that I love.
Well, there's an interesting story about a little town in Missouri called Ellsbury. It's about, I'm going to say, 40 miles north of St. Louis, just offset from the Missouri River, maybe 10 miles or so. It's in the Missouri bottom farmlands. It's very rich land for farming. And a guy had a farm there, and this was in, I guess it was 1978, if I remember correctly. But during that entire summer in 1978, the entire community of Ellsbury was subjected to things that they could not explain in the form of lights that came in from the sky and like on the horizon, and sounds and images in the dark, and just gave everybody in the town the sense that something wasn't right. And this went on for weeks. And the most interesting story I found connected with it was a farmer had done an inventory on his cows. He had a small dairy farm, and he was doing an inventory on his cows one morning, and he was missing a couple cows. So he starts walking his property looking for them, and out in the middle of one pasture is a sole lone standing tree, an old tree. And it was a tree that cows would sometimes gather under to get into the shade during a hot summer day. And he saw two cows up there. And they were laying down, so he went up there. He said, thought I'd just wake them up and, get them into the barn. He gets up there, and they're not sleeping. They're dead. And not only they're dead, but they're dead, and they've been opened up with surgical precision, cauterized wounds, and all of their internal organs are missing. Making it really strange was the fact that the cows were surrounded by broken branches, and which caused him to look up into the tree, and he could see a clear pathway through the tree where these cows had fallen through the tree to land on the ground underneath the tree.
Wow.
Yeah. And they had, he said that the branches to those tree branches were covered with bluehead flies that were essentially bonded to the branches, to the twigs, like they'd been glued there or epoxied there. Some thermal process stuck them there in a way that, you'd have to scrape them off with a knife, and there was thousands of them. So how did the cow fall through the tree? That's the question.
No, the question used to be, did the cow jump over the moon? Now we need to know how the cow fell through the tree. That's a little dense humor there. But what do you think? I mean, when you see a story like this, I mean, what does your common sense tell you?
Well, I got that story secondhand. Now, it's documented in newspaper articles of that era. But I got it secondhand through a woman that I only talked to 3 or 4 times over the telephone, probably a total of 5 or 6 hours. And she was a very believable person, had a very interesting and high-caliber academic background, and she was in her 80s when I talked to her in 2007. And so she related this story to me. And so then I researched it a little bit and included it in the book. But my thinking is, that's a tornadic area. I mean, there's tornadoes everywhere. And I could explain the cow being picked up and tossed in the air where it would suddenly fall through a tree by the tornado, but I can't explain the surgical incisions. So I could explain it by maybe there's a really weird dude out there who likes to cut the internal organs out of cows, and then a tornado came along and picked that empty cow up and tossed it down through the tree. Other than that, I got nothing.
That's true. And, that's what's always puzzled me with the cattle mutilations is how precise everything has been done and how we're told, well, even our surgeons today can't do things that precise. And, well, if that's the case, shouldn't we be asking more questions about this? And often we get told, well, it's just some satanic cult doing this, and it's, well, if our own doctors can't do these kinds of things, these cuts, which they probably could now, but I guess when this stuff first began, right, they couldn't do these kind of laser type cuts.
Yeah, I'm an evidence kind of guy. I need hardcore evidence for me to believe anything.
Oh, we get along great then, because I'm the same way. But go ahead.
So for me to get activated and really worked up over the idea that extraterrestrials are visiting, I need some kind of hardcore evidence. I just haven't seen that yet. Doesn't mean it's not out there. Doesn't mean that somebody isn't going to someday present it to me, or I'm going to learn about it somehow. But at the moment, I'm very much a skeptic because I need that hard evidence.
Well,
but I mean, there's some very compelling stories out there. And when if you were to pick a date for the first documented visitation of an alien craft to planet Earth, what date would that be?
It could be Independence Day. Like the movie. It could be maybe the 4th of July, maybe 9/11.
Would you go with the 1947 thing in Roswell?
Oh, well.
Or that's what most people go with. If you ask them, when was the first time aliens showed up on planet Earth, that you can prove with some kind of evidence that.
I thought you meant if the government was going to tell us, okay, we're no longer alone, what day would they pick to do it?
No. Who knows when they'll do that?
Okay. Well, in that case, then...
I'm not going to believe it.
I think the first case is, I think it goes way back. I think if you look at different cave drawings, there's actually depictions of these crafts before even us. So it's a tough question. Depends how far back you go.
Yeah, I guess I should have been a little more precise. Modern times in the 20th century. So I'll simplify it. There's a case in Missouri, in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, which is down south in Missouri, of 1941, a UFO incident that involved the military, the local police, firemen, and a specific theologian, the town reverend. And I think his name was Huffman. It was Bill Huffman. And basically what it was he was, the story goes, just sitting in his home at night, and he had a knock at the door. He goes to the door, and there's a couple of FBI agents at the door. And they explain that they need him to not ask questions, but to come with them. They need him to perform last rites on some people who were involved in an air crash. And he had no problem. He jumps in their car. Off they go to this site. And when they get there, it's not your typical crash site that you would think of, in that, yes, there were a couple fire trucks and there were a couple police cars present, but there were also military vehicles. So the story goes that he was taken to the officer in command at that time, the military officer in command, and he said, we need you to go over to this crashed craft and perform last rites on the people inside, the occupants inside the craft. He goes over, and the craft looks different than anything he had seen. Of course, it was crashed, and it's hard to tell what an airplane looks like when it's crashed. But he thought, from his lay perspective, it was an odd-looking craft. And when he looked inside, nothing looked familiar. None of the instrumentation looked familiar. None of the markings looked familiar. And certainly the deceased beings didn't look familiar because they were very small, wearing some kind of a strange uniform. And so he was in shock, but he did what he was asked. He performed some kind of a last rite, and he goes back, and they said, okay, thank you very much, and we need to we need for you to understand that you have done something that's a top secret event, and you can never tell anyone that you've done that. And we appreciate your service, but you can't talk about it. And he promises to never say a word. And he goes home and immediately tells Mrs. Huffman. So Mrs. Huffman relates this story to a reporter for the Missouri Gazette or something like that on her deathbed. And the reason the story was given credence was because it was a deathbed story.
Well, and that does give it credence, absolutely. But, you know, and I was going to say, nowadays, I hope that people won't wait for deathbed for these stories, because now's the time.
Yeah, well, there is no shortage of stories and video of UFO incidents. It's just stunning, the stuff that's online. And I always go back to, you know, if you really want to have integrity as somebody who investigates this kind of thing, you have to be the harshest critic imaginable. You have to be somebody that's a UFO enthusiast would question as being, how could that guy possibly be on our side? Because he never believes anything.
Well, you're right.
You have to be the ultimate skeptic. Because if you're the ultimate skeptic and people believe that you're the ultimate skeptic, when you finally come to them with evidence, they'll believe you.
See, and I am the ultimate skeptic on a lot of things. I mean, everything, really. I want proof. And for me, I hope that one day you'll get a sighting. And certainly that's not going to tell you that there's E.T. life, because you don't know who's driving them. But you have a good idea after you have a sighting that, hey, this probably didn't come from one of our airports. And I hope you have that opportunity. And I did, and I know that I can't use it to convince anybody else. But for myself, I take comfort knowing that when someone does tell me their UFO story, I have a harder time not believing them now, because unless it's a wild, you know, hey, they took me up and gave me breakfast or something like that, well, then I need more proof. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the standard I used when I was doing the research in Missouri was when I talked to somebody, I initially spent the first handful of minutes just trying to gauge this person. Were they trying to just did they want to be in a book, or were they blowing smoke up my rear, or were they any way embellishing or exaggerating, or was their story repeatable? Because I'd ask them the same question in a different way 10 minutes later, and if they gave me the same answer, well, that's good. And but mainly I was just looking to see, is this person sincere? Has this person got a level head? Are they just telling me what they truly believe they saw or witnessed or know about? And one thing I learned in Missouri is that Missouri produces a lot of very honest folks. I mean, I grew up in Missouri, but when you grow up somewhere, you only know about a 25-mile, circumference of where your home is. And that's after you learn to drive and get a car. So, I mean, I had a lot to learn about Missouri, and one thing I learned was that I like Missouri people. They are really straightforward and honest, and they'll bend over backwards to help you. So I had a lot of interviews with a lot of people, and I can't think of really anybody that really I thought tried to pull my leg in any way. So the handful of interviews I had about UFOs were all very compelling, because not necessarily so much of the story, but because of the person telling the story.
Exactly, yeah, well put. And you could get a feel for people. And if I'll talk to people who have told me some wild things, and and pretty prominent people, I mean, constitutional lawyers who have come on the show and told me things about jump rooms and things. And while it's so hard to believe, and I want solid evidence, which I was never given, I gotta say that these people actually believe what they're telling me, and they don't miss a beat. And when they do that, I give it a little credence. Certainly not that I could back it up, but I could say, wow, one thing I could say is this guy's not making it up. He really believes what he's telling me.
Now, jump rooms Are you talking like something like a dimensional jump or a time jump or something? Or what?
Yeah, I've had a constitutional lawyer by the name of Andrew Bishago who has been on the show, and he says that he was part of a secret space program and that there was a jump room and that they would be able to time travel. And, but, I mean, he would say it. I mean, the guy never cracks up laughing and never, you could ask him the same question. For 8 years, I've had him on several times. And, I mean, his answers have never changed. Anything that he's told me hasn't really changed. Outside of, he remembers more now than he did then. But the stories he's told about it. So do I believe him? I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't disbelieve him. No, I believe he believes what he's saying.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, you can have somebody who has deluded themselves, and they've got a very accurate accounting of the delusion. And I'm not implying that this guy's deluded, but I'm just saying that no matter what your story is, if you truly believe it, and that's what you think about, then you can recite it back accurately time and time again. So it's not at all surprising that somebody can do that. I'm just jealous that if that kind of thing exists, I would love to participate.
Oh, so would I. So would I. I'd love to go back. Who wouldn't, right? Go back to, 13 years old and know what I know now.
Yeah, I'd just like to go back and say don't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that as well. There's, thankfully I've quit smoking, but I smoked for a lot of years, and I would love to go back and kick myself right in the gut and say, oh, no, you're not. Put that down.
If you could go back in time and just, say, don't do that to yourself, on the times that you shouldn't have done something. Of course, I'd keep that time machine really busy, but I think it would be a good thing.
I think it could be, but then I look back and I say, would I be me right now? And I really like who I am now. So would I be the same person if a lot of those things didn't happen?
No, you wouldn't. So yes, you're right. I say these things in jest. I wouldn't change much either, but it is an interesting thing to think about.
It is. It absolutely is. Well, James, I would like to give you the floor to get out anything that you'd like now, and we're just about out of time here, but I thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I'd love to have you back sometime. Maybe one of these nights, if you'd like. We have a good UFO guest. We'll get you on, and it sounds to me like you might, you'd be a good skeptic, so maybe you'd ask better questions.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to do that. Let me know.
All right, great. Well, thank you. Anything you want to get out there, go right ahead.
Okay, no, the only thing I would like to say is that if you would like to read a good yarn, an action-adventure yarn where we're dealing with current events, The Price of Contempt When Islam Pushed Too Hard is available on Amazon.com and any of the online retailers, and also in some brick-and-mortar bookstores. And it's available right now.
All right. Well, thank you again, James, and keep up the good work. And I hope you go back on the air. If you do, give us a shout. Maybe we'll pick you up too.
Okay, Michael. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. James Strait. There you have it. And hopefully he'll come back with his show. I didn't realize that his show was off the air for the last 18 months, but interesting guest, interesting guy, and again, difference in opinions on some things, and I like that. I like to hear what other people think. I like to know what they see with their eyes right now. And so James, good guest. We'll get him back. He'll come back again to be on Late Night in the Midlands, and I guess it's hard for me to have too positive of an outlook when I look at the big picture, because, I really do believe that there's more honest people in the world than there is dishonest people. I do. I believe that. I believe that the honest people outnumber the dishonest people. The problem is, at some point it's all going to have to come to a head, because we've got a lot of corruptness going on in places where it just cannot be tolerated. And it has been tolerated for far too long. And, You know, I say that we are in World War III right now because that's what I see. In my world, if you look through my eyes, that's how I see it. You've got, I mean, look, there's conflict everywhere. There's threats of conflict everywhere. There's a lot going on. There's a president who is going executive order after executive order. And just, that's a dictatorship, folks. That's not a presidency. I'm telling you, we've been duped. We have been duped. We've believed this lie for far too long. And it's going to come down to where, you know, there is going to be violence in this country. And I hate to see it. I hope it don't happen. But how can it not? How can it not? I mean, you can only push the people so far. And eventually, the right people are going to step up and do the right thing. It's not going to be to get a free TV out of Walmart. Or it's not going to be to steal the cash register in mom and pop's little grocery store in the corner. It's not going to be to flip over a police car because we want to feel like, you know, we've accomplished something with that. It's going to be for real. There's going to be gunfire in the streets. It's going to happen. It's got to happen. Because we've let this system get so far out of control, that I don't see any other option. I mean, because people, you're waiting. We're all doing it. We're going to wait until they actually come to our doors, and they could be our own government officials. They could be Chinese military. They could be Russian military. They could be the UN. But it's going to happen, and it's sad for me to see things go this way. It's like everybody's waiting for everybody else. And unfortunately, young people are standing up. I mean, they're watching the fake news. And they're acting off of it. I mean, they'll go up to some of these young people and ask them stuff. I mean, they'll repeat what the fake news is telling them. It's shocking to me. It's, you know, and the reason that these kids are like this is because the parents have failed. So parents, you've got another chance. You got to wake them up. We've got to wake up this generation. We have to get them awake, and because we're going to need everybody to get this thing rolling right. I'm going to take one more break. Then I'm going to come back. I'm going to bring Ira on board. We're going to continue this conversation. We hope to hear from some of you at 803-317-2264 when we come back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. We cover everything. The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com.
LNM Radio has joined with the Hardened Structures team to provide state-of-the-art survival shelter design and build services at LNM Radio exclusive rates. Hardened Structures, with over 21 years experience in military, commercial, and private shelter design build services, are also offering LNM Radio listeners a free consultation, normally a $500 value. So click on the Hardened Structures banner on the home page or the chat and listen page and have peace of mind that no matter what happens, your family is protected.
The LNM Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an LNM subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you. You want the truth? Late Night in the Midlands knows you deserve it. That's why we make it easy for you to listen at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means inform others. Folks, we're not your average radio show. We cover everything. Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network. LNM is always looking for sponsors, so if you are interested in sponsorship or advertisement on air or on our website, contact us at mv@latenightinthe.midlands.com.
And as we have been programmed mentally, intellectually, one must be aware of this being programmed like a computer.
Programming that we are constantly assaulted by throughout our life conditions us, it programs us to a particular worldview.
The project is literally the secularization of the world. New secular or worldly order.
A new study says the news media have been pushing a gospel of godlessness on the American public.
Because this media is here and designed to make sure that they ask no critical questions. To make sure that the only thing that they are concerned about is having a good time. And so that is why today, one of the struggles that you have as young people, that when you want to do different events and you want to talk about real issues, you have the struggle of many of your peers who've been so conditioned in this matrix that they would rather party than listen to the truth. They would rather party and shop and go to the mall than to stand up for issues of justice. They're stuck in the matrix. But you have the responsibility of helping to wake them up.
Now, how do we know that there's a God? After having been thoroughly brainwashed. And how do we know that there's a creator?
It's the middle of the night, and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of, and very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune in to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
So this is something I feel like, if I was the president, and it's unlikely that that is ever going to happen.
You never know.
If I was the president...
It was unlikely that I was going to be president.
The moment I was inaugurated, my hand would just, it'd still be hot from touching the Bible, and I would immediately race to wherever they have the files about Area 51 and the UFOs, and I go through everything to find out what happened. Right. Did you do that?
That's why you will not be president. That's the first thing that you will do. The aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us.
Now, there are a lot of people that are going to examine your facial expressions here, every twitch, everything, and say, and of course, so did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Because President Clinton said he did go right in, and he did check, and there was nothing.
Well, that's what we're instructed to say. Was moving too slowly, but the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces. Including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
Making my last stand.
right, that was Lone Wolf. That's the Patriot version, and I'll tell you, it couldn't be better. Well said. Our liberties are being they ain't be given away. They've been taken. It's just people are too blind to understand. Obama, for the first time in his life, tells the truth, and we can't disclose that. I can't tell you this. We're controlled. He admitted all that, and then admits that they're training ISIS. That was just a slip up, though. Oh, God, somebody had to have goofed with the audio for Obama to have said that. It's true. It's the truth. Nobody has to screw with audio. It's true. It is true. And I don't know where my moderators were a few minutes ago, but I think they were needed. So, moderators, get ready. All right, so we're going to bring Ira aboard here. We'll take calls in just a moment, everybody. Give us a minute. Let me get Ira on the line here, and let's do this. All right, Ira. What the heck is going on? No, that's not what's supposed to be happening. All right, hold on a moment. There we go. We've got people just kind of like busting into our phone line. Not going to happen. I'll bring you on when I'm ready. All right, so let's get Ira on here. Ira, welcome aboard, my friend.
Hello, sir.
How are you doing?
Oh, it's been a day, man, I'll tell you.
It has been a day. It's been a day here, too. It's been hotter than the wheels of hell in this damn place. And then if that's not enough, the power goes out today. I forgot. I was going to mention this earlier on the air. We had well over 10,000 lose their power here in my area. And there are no storms, I don't know why it happened. The power company wouldn't tell me why it happened. Now, normally they'll say, there was a driver who hit a pole, or, they usually tell us, but this time for some reason they wouldn't tell us. And
here's the odd thing, though. You're not the only one that's experienced that. It's been happening across the country today. In Washington, D.C., for example, in one neighborhood there, over 5,000 people lost power today. For no reason, just out of nowhere, lost power.
Would you guess that it is a tax on the U.S., or would you guess that this might be coming from space and they're just keeping it hush?
My thought is that it is an attack that's been going on. I think that if you look at what all has been happening today across the world, it's a pretty good indication that exactly that kind of thing is happening. We had in China, you were discussing earlier about the Chinese stock exchange basically going poofta after they shut it down, after it started to crash. The New York Stock Exchange halted its trading as well today after a quote-unquote technical glitch caused issues to happen. I think that was actually a hack attack that was occurring during that time period. We had today as well WallStreetJournal.com or WSJ.com went down. United Airlines went down for the day. Zero Hedge went down. All of these different sites all across the internet today have been experiencing a lot of issues. There's been a lot of people that have experienced many issues with their speed, and as you were just discussing, many people have lost power today, just out of nowhere, for no reason.
Here is what I do, Ira, when that happens in the middle of the afternoon and the skies are clear outside of the chemtrailing, and there's no excuse for what's happening, and the power company won't give me answers. That's when it's like lock and load and turn on your battery-powered radio and get ready. That's the way I look at it. People prepare, because that's what's going to happen. One afternoon or one night, the power's going to go off. And all of a sudden, you're going to hear some words you never, you ain't going to recognize the language. You're going to be coming up talking about papers, please. But anyways, go ahead, Ira.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a matter of trying to understand that what we're seeing happening is a escalation in training, I think, for one. We have Jade Helm starting next week, at least officially. But, we have a pretty good suspicion that that's been going on for a couple of months now, at least.
Yes, sir.
I think that the whole cyber realm of things we have to pay attention to very closely, because I do believe that World War III starts and ends with the cyber attacks as well. The physical warfare is definitely a thing. They have no, don't get me wrong, there's no illusions about it. The physical warfare is definitely a thing. People are going to die. People are dying right now, regardless of whether people are paying attention or not. But the fact is that in this world that we have right now, the way that it is set up, everything is done through ones and zeros. It is all cyber, and everything is intimately tied directly to the internet. So if a country can fight a war in cyberspace and destroy a country's infrastructure by taking it over or by causing it to not function because they have destroyed the internet structure, then that means they have won the war. The fact is that if we take a look at the way that things are established right now, just take the trucking industry as one small example. If something were to occur to the trucking industry, that industry is right now intimately tied to everything on the internet. And it's been that way for many years now. They were actually one of the first to become very closely tied to the internet because it makes the shipping of goods a lot easier to facilitate, the infrastructure there.
I just want to say, I see where you're coming from, how it will certainly cripple things, but as far as winning the war, they have to come up on my property and get me before they've won anything. So,
that's true. Yes.
Promise you, if I go, I'm taking a few with me.
Yeah, that is definitely true, and I don't disregard that. What I'm meaning is again, okay, let's take the trucking industry. If something were to occur that gets shut down for even a matter of 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 days, it will literally take months to years to get it reestablished back to the point where it's actually functional.
But our government's prepared for themselves. I mean, I bet their underground bunkers and cities don't lose anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. What's been estimated, though, is that if something were to occur to the internet countrywide, for example, approximately 90% of the people, population-wise, will be dead basically within a year because of not only the fact that resources would no longer be getting from one place to the other, so, goods will not be shipped, power will not function, natural gas will not function, on and on and on. 90% of the population is going to be gone either through a direct starvation, etc., or exposure to the elements, or exposure to those out there, the crazy nuts who are going to be coming out of the woodwork because Walmart no longer has any Pampers for sale, and so on and so forth. People are going to go crazy. They're going to go absolutely nuts.
I'll tell you what'll happen is, people will start going nuts, and authorities will put up for it for a little while, and then eventually you'll see militaries forming on the streets, and they'll just start shooting people dead, and you'll be like, what? Yeah. In America? And then you'll remember when we told you that this is not America no more, that it's been taken over. And you'll realize that, now all this stuff you've seen on the news and you've seen on these websites on the internet, all these dead people in the street, well, now you'll see it firsthand, and you could go look and check, and you tell me if they're actors. And I mean, it'll be up to you to decide then, because then on the other side of the world, there'll probably be people over say, oh, no, people are dying, it's all acts.
Yeah.
But it'll be happening here. And so people, you better wisen up. You better open your eyes and see what's coming.
Exactly. It's not a matter of fear mongering. What I'm speaking about here is not a matter of fear mongering. It's just being pragmatic and literal.
And Ira, here's something else. Now, I mentioned this earlier. Russia and China can overcome, this was Putin's words, Russia and China can overcome any difficulty together. So I think that was his way of saying, we're together. You want to play? Let's play. And I'm telling you, it's some bad things are about to happen. And I'm not liking this because, folks, if we had gotten off our asses a lot sooner, we could have prevented a lot of this. We would have had some bloodshed, but we would have kept it localized. We would have got these suckers out of their seats and turned things around maybe. And I mean, at this point, it's not good. You got the elite playing war, and they're playing with our lives. And, I feel bad because all these young kids who are never going to get to grow up and have the great things that we had growing up, being able to play outside and do the things that they were able to do. It's all going to be wiped away. And I won't live in a world like that. I'm going out with a bang if it's me. So,
well, we're getting there one way or the other. I sometimes talk about the way that things were even 20 to 30 years ago compared to how they are now. And one of the things that I tend to point out is this idea that we are so hyper protective of our children and yet doing everything that we can do to destroy them at the same time. And when I say we, I don't mean like you and me, but kind of the general population, the masses. There are those who don't fall into this category, but by and large, what we see happening right now is, for example, we don't allow our children to go outside and play anymore. It's either the sun is too evil and dangerous for them to go out into, or we're afraid of the boogeyman being around each and every bush. We set up play dates for our children now instead of them going outside and finding a friend or going around and playing.
You're kidding. I can't. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, Ira, and I know I do it often. But, man, I'll tell you what. You're hitting a note with me. Yes, that's true. Play dates. Let's set up a play date. I always let my kids go play outside. Yeah. Just scream my name. I'll be out there if you need me.
Well, that's what we got cell phones for, right? That's why every one of them has a cell phone at this point in time.
Well,
if you got a problem, call.
Yeah, and I'm against that too. It's
Me too.
When I see these 7, 8-year-olds walking around with phones in their pockets, I want to kick them in their ass and take it. It's like they kick the parents in the ass. It's like these little kids don't need these phones. They go, oh well, they need it for this or that, and then you see them FaceTiming each other all day or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And well, teach their own. But yeah, okay. If you want to use the technology, go ahead. It's not for me to tell you shouldn't. I'm just telling you I don't. So
I mean, my kids they don't have cell phones or anything along those lines, but I don't mind them using the computers. What I'm meaning though is that we have become so overprotective of our kids at the same time that we put them into all of these different dangerous situations. So we protect them from the invisible boogeyman that's around every bush, because there's obviously a pedophile every 100 feet, right? But at the same time, we inject them with the vaccines and we expose them to these different GMO foods and on and on and on. It's like we're so protective of them, but that at the same time, we don't give two craps because we don't research what all they're involved with or doing. You were speaking the other day about something that really got my goat in a big way, and I would love to bring it up here again because I think this is something that's really important for people to get understanding of. You were speaking about how at this point in time it's possible for kids to have IUDs injected into them at schools. That's and that right. Things like Medicaid will actually pay for it and so on and so forth.
And with no parent consent.
Yes, exactly. And the thing that drives me nuts about this, let me lay this out for you here, because I think that this is so important for us to really get inflamed about. I'm telling you, it gets me on a big tear. We, as parents, are not allowed through privacy, the HIPAA laws, to know what's happening with our kids health-wise. So they can, under this privacy auspice, go and have this IUD injected into them. Then they can go out and have all the sex that they want and get together with whoever they want to get with and all this kind of stuff. And then they get pregnant anyways because those things fail, right? It happens. They then get pregnant and they decide that they don't want to have the child. So they go and they have an abortion. And we don't have to know about that either because we didn't even have to know that they were pregnant to begin with. But then if my child was to come home after having that abortion and after having that IUD inserted into them, they were come home after having that abortion and they are bleeding, hemorrhaging because of the abortion going bad, then whose responsibility is it? Mine. And who is it that's going to be in trouble if things don't get taken care of?
Well, yeah, exactly. And I look at it this way. You play, you pay. You want to spread those babies, then you need to take care of those babies when they come. And it's that simple. And we've had for decades now children having children. And so, you know, I don't, for these schools to be teaching our kids about sex and oral sex and all these things, anal sex they're teaching them.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And now you want to put contraceptives in the girls and tell me that as a parent I don't need to know about that?
Nationwide, programs are starting to get implemented where they are actually going through sexual education programs, and I'm not kidding about this. I've done this on my show a couple of times now. They are implementing programs that they actually bring the students into classrooms or into conference rooms, wherever it is that they have these sex ed programs going on, and they will log on to websites and have the kids log on to websites, porno websites. Okay, teach them how to surf on the porno websites so that they can have fun. And then,
well, God is my witness. Let me just say this: with God as my witness, and all you listeners who are listening, if one of my kids ever tell me anything like this has ever gone on in their classroom, if my daughter, I still have a daughter who's in school, ever came and told me that they put a contraceptive, I'll go to that school with full fist swinging. I'm knocking some people on their ass when I get there, and it's going to take the law, their tasers, and their bullets to stop me to go ahead and do that with my kids.
It makes me glad that we made the decision to homeschool our kids.
Holy
In
cow.
one instance as well, they actually they were passing out pamphlets in the classrooms that had these really cool designs on them, the really cool, fresh, nice writing, that kind of thing on these pamphlets, and they were saying things like ways to have fun with your partner without having sex. So one of the instances was to go out and buy extra large underwear and wear them together, share the underwear space. Go and use methamphetamines, because it's been shown that with methamphetamine in your system, you can have lots of sex with lots of people for a lot longer period of time and not feel as guilty about it. These were in the pamphlets that were handed out by the schools.
I'll be damned. And here I've been saying the TSA is the perfect job for the pedophile who's not been caught yet, because they could go and they could fill up who they want, right? Well, now the teachers too, they get to teach the sex class to the kids. Well, come on now, everyone get in line. Come on and touch it. Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you at all.
Man, you're making me want to beat someone down.
They were up in front of the schools. Okay, like as a great example here, this is another example. You and I are talking on Skype right now. One of the things that they were teaching the kids in these classes, and I kid you not, is something called teledildonics, which is a dildo that you control through Skype.
Yeah. You know, we have just contaminated LNM, but you know what, folks? We're talking about this, and it's very hard as parents to talk about this.
These are the things that we have to know.
It's true, though. This is really going on. This is not some wild conspiracy theory. This is the truth. And if you're getting mad and disgusted, then good. You should.
You should. Don't get mad at us for displaying or for bringing out the information. Get mad at them for using federal funds to fund these things.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll tell you, it's a bunch of, when you go to the high ups, here we go. People are gonna get mad now. It's like a bunch of pedophiles, dirtbags, who they design the system to recruit their children. I hate to say it, but damn, you got to call a spade, and it is.
Yes, exactly. One of the people in the chat room just asked if parental permission slips are going extinct. And I will say this as an answer. According to research that I've done, one of the companies or foundations that is advocating this kind of educational program is called the WISE Foundation, WISE. They're sponsored by the Ford Foundation as well as a couple of other different foundations, but they are actually advocating that parental permission is not needed because the kids are learning health, and because they are learning health-related things, that is under the auspices of the HIPAA program, which allows them to have the privacy to make the decision to take the classes themselves without parental permission.
Yeah, and like the old saying's going, and we'll take our call here, but, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Children don't grow up to be pedophile dirtbags. They're taught to be that way in most cases. It's, we need better parenting. Kids they're not born racist either. That's something else that's taught. A lot of this stuff is taught. And now what we got is a younger generation of parents who are too busy on their smartphones and too busy on their video games and their Facebook pages to even care what their kids are doing. These kids run and they just rule the house. And some of them just go outside and take walks down the street whenever they want to. And that's because we've got a society of dumbed down parents who are controlled by the technologies that they have in their hands. And if I've offended you, then I'm talking about you.
Well, and in a lot of cases, what I've seen happen is when the kids have kids, the parents actually have told them, go out and still have your parties, go out and have fun, because when I was your age and I had you, I was prevented from doing that. So I don't want you to go through the same thing. You still go and be a kid, and I'll take care of the baby.
Well, and there's a part of me that waits for this system to fail and for everything to be kind of on a reset, because then maybe we could go back to parenting our kids and not having the government tell us we're watching you. If you smack that kid's butt, you're going to jail. So maybe we can get back to the way things were, because there was a time when the world wasn't as crazy as it is now, or at least the youth in this country weren't as crazy as they are now.
Yeah.
They were, there was a time, and there was a reason for that. And the more government gets involved, the worse things get. The government is so involved in the American family. That's why the American family no longer exists. I mean, people's families are on the internet now. Everything's virtual. My God, I don't even want
literally.
Yeah.
Literally, you can get an app to create a girlfriend that is for you. It will set up an entire Facebook account, phone calls, on and on and on, to fool your family into thinking that you really have a girlfriend or a boyfriend.
Yeah, I've heard
so that you can get away with not having to deal with the family drama and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but there really isn't. Everything's acceptable nowadays, though. I mean, so yeah, you can, it's all things that is, and it's not that I don't like change. I really don't, but I deal with it. I cope with it like everyone else does. That's not it. It's just that I can't stand to see moral go out the window. And moral has gone out the window. The family is just so broken up. I'm telling you, the government, he's been Uncle Sam's been on our damn couch too long. It's time to wake the old bastard up and give him a kick in the ass and send him out of our door. That's what time it is. Now let's take a call from David. David, welcome.
Good evening, gentlemen. I've been listening adamantly here all evening, and there is a lot of trouble, Michael, Ira. I can feel it as well as see it all around me here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's just it's right in your face, so to speak, and on the news, and President Obama is just full of it, and so is his wife, and it's you wonder why, and it's because we all have to wake up and realize it's the entire surrounding area that we are all standing in is all gone to hell in a handbag. But if these things hadn't happened 30, 40 years ago to us nowadays, we'd all be still getting drunk and watching the games and having a good time. So our own behavior, I think, is what's brought these things about in the reality sense, and allowed it to get as bad as it's gotten. And even though I hate to sound like a preacher preaching to the choir, we do all have to make some big changes within ourselves and give up some of the things that we were raised to believe, because they're not any good anymore. Even personally, I've changed a lot of the things that I do, and the things that I used to love, like bacon and sausage and big steak, I don't eat anymore, and I don't drink liquor anymore, and I may not even snort a little cocaine once in a while anymore, but those are just things on the personal level, I mean, as far as teaching our children what to do and what not to do, you're right about that, Michael and Ira. We gotta take control back to ourselves and instigate a complete reversal in the way things have gone for the last 30 years. I really believe that.
Yeah. Now, what do you think, Ira?
Well, I believe that what we see happening, and this gets kind of like maybe into a little bit of a esoteric or occultic behind the scenes kind of thing. What I see happening is that the leaders that we have and that we've had for a long time are a mirror reflection of us in the public, us in the greater whole. What we do in our own personal lives, they reflect. So if they are corrupt in their personal dealings, then that's a reflection on the fact that we are corrupt in our personal dealings. So what we see our leaders doing, you can use that as a clue or a cue to know what kind of changes need to be done on a one-to-one basis with us here. If we were not that way ourselves, we would not allow ourselves to have leaders that are that way. Does that make sense?
Well, to some degree, but, I just feel as though the leaders now, all of them are corrupt. They're all paid off by the lobbyists for
Absolutely.
corporations. And I wouldn't be that way, and Michael wouldn't be that way, and I don't know.
Yes,
I'm that way either. So
I'm saying it's a percentage thing.
I can't agree.
It's a percentage thing, though, David, is what I'm referring to. We live in this consensus reality, so the fact that more people are that way than are not shows that the leaders themselves are reflecting what the greater masses of humanity are like.
And you guys call them leaders, and I don't even like to give them that much credit.
No, I don't either.
I call them,
and the Diebold machines have elected them. We haven't.
Well, yeah.
Nobody's decided that they're supposed to be in office, and nobody's decided that they're supposed to continue in office till the day they drop, and that's all it has to do with the Diebold machines that were established quite some time ago. And the Republican and Democratic parties are both like two wings of the same bird. So
right, I don't
that's
disagree.
The problem. That's the problem. It's not us.
No, listen, I don't disagree. I don't, but you're still looking at the surface. I'm just talking about the behind the scenes stuff. That's still looking at the surface. If you go into a deeper aspect of it, if we, the greater masses of humanity, were actually wanting something different, it would change.
Well, we don't have to have a write-in ballot to get that change to happen.
Dude, if it came down to it, we could have old-style Western justice, and they'd be gone in a heartbeat.
Well, if we do suffer a big EMP, we're going to have a write-in ballot for everything we do because the electronics won't work anymore.
Right. But do you see what I'm saying? I get your guys' points, and I'm in total agreement with you. But I'm just talking about the undersurface thing. That's why I said it's the more esoteric or occultic reasons for this occurring. You can look at it as almost like it's a karmic situation. We're basically paying a karmic price for the fact that we have not done anything to this point and allowed ourselves to cause this harm to occur to the greater masses of humanity. Because if we didn't, we would stop it right now.
It's been happening for some time, though.
It has. Oh, yes, it has.
It didn't just happen yesterday, and it didn't happen 10 years ago. It's been happening all my life, and I've been seeing it go down the tube. Because I can remember when I was being raised in Iowa on the farm, and the outlook then was very positive. It was very good, and we all thought that mankind was going to achieve great bounds in the next few years and be able to feed the world, be able to heal everyone, and then all of a sudden it just started going down the hill
because
again.
We got co-opted. That's exactly why we got co-opted. There was a plan that was put into place that basically the family structure had to be destroyed. Once the family structure is destroyed, that's the bottom of the pyramid. Once that foundational structure is destroyed, everything else crumbles. Everything else falls apart from there.
Well, the family structure is what you're talking about. I only think exists for maybe 10 years, maybe 18 if you want to talk about birth to the end of high school. So, I've seen this happen 3 times in my life, and it's still going on. So it's not like it happened to any one group. It's happened to a few groups of family units. And the new family units, they're as much in opposition to this happening to them right now as it's ever been in history, because they can see it very clearly what's happened to their own families and in the past. So there's a great group of opposition members now that are rallying support for their cause, and the ones of us who are screaming and yelling and banging the drum and whatnot maybe aren't totally connected to this opposition force, but this force will succeed and take over control eventually, I think, and rout out the computerized networks and Skynet and everything else. But it's going to be a war of the wills, so to speak.
Well, it is. It is going to be a war of the will, and it is right now. And people need to be able. I guess here's what I say: for us to turn this around, the solution to all of this is it's in my mind it's kind of simple. The solution to this is, first off, people need to come to terms of what's going on, what's really happening, the real news. Turn off your fake news. Research yourself. It might take you a week, might take you 2 weeks to start waking up on some issues, but do it. All right. And then what needs to happen is we all of us, as many as we can, need to start coming together. However it's organized, it needs to be organized. We need to come together. We need to get our sheriffs, find out which sheriffs are on our side and which ones are our enemy. We need to get the ones on our side on our side. We need to get any military that's going to be on our side. We need to get them on our side. And then it needs to happen. The knocks door to door need to start happening for all the people in Congress, all these state people, all the White House, and anybody who is suspected of foul, dirty play needs to be tried. And when they're tried, they need to get the proper punishment. That proper punishment, at last I checked, for treason is death. And that's what needs to happen. That's the only way we turn this around. I don't see any other way. I don't see Jesus or E.T. or anybody else turning it around without bloodshed outside of us going that route. I think that's the only way we get this done. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's just going to keep getting worse. And I think it's going to be a lot worse because people wait so long.
Well, it could get worse, and it might get worse. But I saw Iris posting today on Facebook to me about Ryan's upcoming show concerning the Planet X or Wormwood approaching, and the postings most recently that I saw on YouTube by a gentleman who had been analyzing some very specific crop circles indicate that to him that December 6th would be the day we would all become more than aware, because it's going to be right in our faces that this planet Nibiru, whatever you want to call it, is rounding our sun. And that event in itself will actually cause all the chaos and catastrophe of which you speak, Michael, to happen. It's not going to be like a personal choice thing anymore. It's going to be like, can you believe it or not? Now you go outside your house and look up at the sky and see it coming. There's no denying it. We're going to be faced with a major catastrophe here. So I think this major catastrophe is part of our Creator's plans to wake us all up and give us all the big choice now.
Well, you know, and I'm okay with that. If that's what happens, okay, bring it on. I would rather go through that than go through the plans that the elites, if you want to call them that,
entirely.
have.
Entirely. I don't want to go downhill slowly or quickly. I want to have a big change come, and I would just soon go out standing with my gun at my side than going out with a whimper to some idiot that I never met before.
Well, I'll tell you, just to throw this out there, I know you know this, David, but for the listeners who may not be aware of this, for my side of things, I'm kind of one of those people that has the two, or the dichotomy that's going on. I have been one of the people that has had visions of this end that we've got coming up. Maggie Hart, I've done a couple of interviews with her on my show, Open Eyes, over the past few months, where we have actually shared a vision that we've had of the end, where everything that's been described with the whole Nibiru, Planet X, all this stuff that goes with it, everything that is, associated with what people have seen coming. I've seen this in my own visions. I've experienced it firsthand. That being said, at the same time, I'm also the person who is out here saying over and over, we can't wait for that moment to happen. What we need to do is change things in the here and now, because none of that is guaranteed to happen. And if we wait for this stuff to occur and wait for the changes to come, that's more time for them to basically stave off the good end that we're supposed to have coming. They're doing everything that they can do to fight against it and making lives much, much harder. So we have to take these moments that we have, because we're not even guaranteed to take another breath, let alone have until December or 2 years from now or 20 years from now or 100 years from now. We can't wait for saviors. We have to take care of what we're doing right here and right now, because it may just be that the creator is saying, well, I'm going to come as soon as these people start acknowledging or saying, well, hey, I'd like to have some help here. You know what I mean?
Well, is it that is it that people just don't see what's happening, or is it that more people are just okay with what's happening and that's why they're not standing up?
Well, I think it's both. I think that it's a matter of people have become so addicted to the idea that they are in this place at this moment in time. It goes into this other kind of topic that I talk about sometimes, where the mind has basically, through the process of evolution, or however you want to put it, gotten to the point where it has one function and one function only: to survive. That's all that it is, and that's all that it does. With its survival instinct in place, this meat suit that we wear, it's all about that and that only. If we were to make any kind of changes in our lives or changes around us, our brains are going to freak out and think that we're going to die, because suddenly the status quo has changed, and because things are different, now we're no longer able to survive. So people get into this mode where they cannot do any kind of change, because they subconsciously think that any kind of change is going to cause their lives to end.
That's good for us to say and us to think, but we've got to realize that a lot of the world is still third and second world civilizations, and they don't have computers, they don't have telephones, they don't even have toilet paper over in Africa. It's not this way everywhere.
Right, but the body is the same one way or the other. People, when they're whatever mode they're in at that moment in time, is what they're most surviving with, is what I'm referring to.
They like it the best,
they like it the best. Right, exactly. That's why they won't change.
But if you don't got the best, you got to take what you can get, and that's what's going to happen. We're all going to be third world for a little while here.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Way.
I think we have to be. I think that that's really what is in the works for things. Just if you want my own personal thoughts on it, away from everything else, the way that I think is that we do have to go through this because it's a learning process. This is the lesson that we have to learn to get ourselves back to the frame of mind where we're more balanced. Because right now we are so far swung out of balance that we cannot reasonably get back to a center point without some kind of big crap happening.
Hell yeah, the tires are going bald quick. We need a front end alignment real fast.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We need something other than a vehicle to carry us through. I think.
Well, yeah, and again, I don't mind if we. I was just talking about this with my son Josh. I don't know, it might have been last night, talking about if an EMP came and how it could knock us back into like freaking 1800s, and for me, I'm okay with that as long as we're all doing this together. But if we're going back to that stage, so you could come with your technology and imprison me, I got a problem with that. But
right, exactly.
That's just it. If we go back to this state for a temporary time, what it's going to do is it's going to thin out our populace, of course. It's going to cause the strong to survive and the weak to die off, and that's going to be almost a cleaning out of our houses and a reawakening of our populace, and a true, really true sense, a reality check for everybody.
Well, not to be cynical or anything, but if you look in the way that nature handles the populations of different animals, sometimes the culling of the herds have to be done.
Exactly.
The population of certain animal species, for instance, will get so populated that they have consumed all the resources around them. They're no longer able to function or survive, so they start dying off of starvation. The predators start coming in and taking them out, and so on and so forth. Diseases will start spreading through the herds to cull the population down. Nature has a way of doing this, and this is exactly, I think, what we see happening. We have gotten to the point where we are needing to be culled. And I'm not, again, trying to be cynical or anything, but that's what I see happening,
Sure. Well, that one crop circle that has the sun, the moon, and the meteorite on it, Ira, supposedly in the Bible it says a third of the world's populace will be incinerated when wormwood passes by us. And that would actually be kind of a natural occurrence, a thinning of the herd, so to speak, and calm the planet down and make us all realize that we now have to come together as races and peoples and start a repopulation and do away with all these different methodologies and reasons for birth control and whatnot. I mean, for all time, men and women that were 14 years of age were getting married and having children.
If you were married off and had two kids by the time you were 14 years old, you were considered an old maid, even 100 years ago. So
but nowadays you're supposed to omit a sexual practice till you're married, and all these other devices that they got out, to keep you from getting pregnant.
Well,
these are all self-imposed reasons for negating our true purposes here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I agree. And sex is a big promoter. I mean, you see it everywhere. You see it in the NFL, the cheerleaders. You see it in even entertainment like the wrestling. They display beautiful women and they make a showcase of them. And these women, they're offered a lot of money, so they degrade themselves and they let themselves be used so these scumbags can make billions of dollars sitting in their offices. And it goes right up the ladder to, the elite. Let's face it, there's porno sites and stuff because there's a wide margin of profit to be made by it. That means there's a whole lot of people supporting this stuff that we'll sit here and say is sick and disgusting. So there's some of you out there that are supporting this stuff, and those are the people we need to weed out. Because you're just as guilty if you're supporting this nonsense, this child porn that's on all over. There's back doors to it, and let me tell you something, guys. You could be surfing the net you get these government trolls who they could set it up. You could click on a link, and next thing you know, you got something on your computer you never even went to. So they could set you up quick. I mean, so if this stuff don't exist, then they can't use it to set you up, is my point. But so, there's a big market for it. So we live in a sick world, and there has to be changes.
Well, I mean, sex sells. That's the biggest thing. They use it because it works. We as human beings, we're here for 4 basic functions. When you get down to the dirty nit and gritty of it all, we're here just for eat, sleep, poop, and have sex. That's literally all that we have this meat suit to do. That's not getting into the spiritual topics. There's a whole vast array when it comes to that. But when you come down to the basics, that's all that this body does or is good for.
I'm not.
So it works.
And I'm not this body. Michael Vera is not what you can touch here. Michael Vera is within this body.
Right. Exactly my point.
Yeah.
Exactly
and I hope that when I do go to the other side, I hope I can continue doing what I love to do. And that's, hey, if it's a perfect place over there and there's no corruption, then guess what? I'll be more than happy to talk about other things and even write interesting stories and stuff. If the world wasn't such a bad place as it has been, I would be talking about other things. But we have to talk about this stuff because people need to be aware of what's happening.
Most people aren't even aware of it. That's the big thing. Most people are not aware of the horror show that is currently going on in this world.
Well, I don't know if the masses have changed at all since the Roman Empire started moving across Europe and taking them one at a time.
Their technology
they'd allow them to do what they want. They just had to pay tribute.
Well, their technology is what's changed, and the greed has gotten bigger because the technology has gotten greater.
Right. But the Romans still conquered one country after another, and they made them pay tribute. And any of them that didn't want to, they got the axe, and that made the rest of their younger people say, all right, we will adhere and we will pay your tax, So, sex, drugs, and rock and roll have been around for a long time, and it's something that we were all raised with, and we all enjoyed it, and we all thought it was great. So,
and we all turned out okay, too.
Did we? Did we really turn out okay? I don't know. I don't really think we did, Ira. I don't think any of us have turned out okay. I didn't turn out okay. In fact, that's what I'm saying. I've changed a lot of the things I was raised on and a lot of things I was brought to believe as a child. I can't believe how stupid I was to think for a minute that there's a tooth fairy and an Easter bunny and Santa Claus says ho ho ho, Well, but and there's just a lot of other things too, just as common as those precepts that most people will argue with you, and they won't listen to a word you have to say when you rain down upon their closely held family traditions. But it's like all these things need to go in the trash can nowadays. We got to get back to the basics, and that's why I think all these bad things are happening to us so quickly, because it's caused to wake us up.
Well, when I was growing up, my parents, my dad thought my music was lousy, and he thought things were best when he was at a certain age in his life. Sure. And I think that happens each generation. Like, I could look back and say I loved the 80s. I know it was kind of crazy, and the kids were kind of some of them were out of control, I guess, but I loved that time, and I think there's people who will go back and say, well, the 90s was a great time, and so we can't all have it the way we want it. But all I ask is that we follow the tradition, the Constitution of this country, and that we do things by law and do them the right way, and we take care of each other rather than depending on a government who wants nothing but to add us as an ingredient in their soup. Why? I mean, are we letting them call the shots? I'd just like to see the people take charge again. I'd like to see the smartphones take a hike. I'd like to see people sitting at the dinner table with each other again. And I'd like to see people socializing at their fences in their yards again. But will those days ever come back? I don't know.
Well, your guest tonight was really really hit the nail on the head when he was talking about the house that's built on a solid foundation and comparing that historically to this country. That really impressed me when he said those words, because, like he said, you repaint the house and new people will move in and you can add an addition and whatnot, but still it's the underpinnings that the entire structure is built upon that has not been shaken yet and has not been destroyed. And so like I was saying, ammo nitrate was fun in the day, and so was cocaine and different hallucinogenics that came along as well were thought to be LSD and blotter acid, and all that stuff was all fun for a night out. But nowadays, we've got to realize that crack and cocaine and all these other things are just killing us, or killing our children that are looking at it as something new and different. So
well, you look here in Indiana, and we're the meth capital of the country, and it's a horrible, horrible thing.
Oh, I know. And marijuana is being touted now, even by the medical community, as actually being a remedy for autistic children and elderly with cancer and whatnot. So it's complete reversal. Everything is going just the opposite of the way it was when we were kids,
And that's a good thing in some sense. And, and the only thing I would say, my guest said that the foundation of this country is the documents. And I still say that, that's a big part of it. Certainly that's our Bible, if you will. But at the same token, I say that the people of this country are the foundation. And when you break the people, you have broken the foundation. And people, don't let them break us. Let's stay strong. Let's bond.
Sure. But what it is, too, is we need the correct leadership in place to encourage the populace, whatever age they may be, even the youngsters, to participate in their local communities or local governments all the way up to the top, in order to maintain some congruency in our structure and keep our balance of power and everything. Whereas like we were discussing, our elected officials are all on the take. Our president is a crook, and they got into power over many years, but now they're running everything into the ground, and it's happening right before our very eyes. When a loaf of bread costs over $5, that's pretty bad. So what we need to do is we actually need, like I say, Ira, an earth-shattering occurrence from outside of this solar system to come in and wake us all up and to make us all realize that, hey, we don't want to live like we have to at the moment, and we've got to get ourselves back on track, and we got to make it this way for the whole world.
It's all about the lessons, my friend.
Yeah, not just ourselves. The whole world has to be able to enjoy what we want to enjoy.
It's all about the lessons, David, my friend. It really is.
Yeah, David, thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it, but we're running out of time here, so I've got to let you go. Ira, thank you so much for joining me tonight. What would you like to get out there, and what do we got coming up next? MUFON Radio.
Up next is a new episode of MUFON Radio. It's going to be really interesting for those who want to tune into it. Be sure to stick around. And 24/7, 24/7, there's something going on here.
Well,
so
I will have it on, because my job doesn't end when I stop the show here. I still got about 2.5 more hours to go of work that I have to do for tonight's show. So I'm not done yet. But yeah, I'll be definitely tuning into that. That's great. We got a hell of a lineup, Ira.
Oh, we do. We also are adding Douglas Dietrich's Critical Omissions to the lineup. We started playing that on Monday. I believe it's going to be replayed again later on tonight as well. So really good show, really good lineup we've got for people. I hope that people stay around.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Good job, my friend. I think that we have come together and we have built something really nice here. So, thank you.
You bet. It's my pleasure. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you are a part of it, a big part of it, and thank you. So with that, Ira, thank you very much, and we're going to be signing out of here. So that all you got?
All right, have a great night, everybody.
All right, good night, my friend. There goes Ira, and he has, I've worked with a lot of people here through the years with Late Night in the Midlands, and Donnie was great. We had some good ones who have come and gone, people who have come and gone, and I hope Ira will be around for a long time. I hope I'll be around for a long time. I really love working with him. He really puts his heart and soul into this the same as I do. And you know how hard it is to find people who care about something as much as you do? Well, I have, and I'm really happy about that. So, folks, I will say this. Thank you so much for our program director and our station manager, Ira Robinson, our webmaster, Jolene. And, as I say, well, I'm going to have to remind you just about every night, about keeping your eyes posted to the sky, because you never know what you might see. Keeping your ears posted to this broadcast, because you never know what you might learn. It's the truth. And as I said last night, I'll say again, let our quest to explore the possibilities be a reminder, folks, to think outside the box and to question everything we have been told about absolutely everything. Folks, again, keep your eyes posted, keep your ears posted, and have a great night. We'll be back with you tomorrow night, right here on the LNM Radio Network.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.